Sama-sama nating tunghayan ang ikalawang State of the Nation Address ni Pangulong Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. Ang mga nagawa ng Pangulo sa kanyang unang taon sa palasyo, ating hihimayin sa pangunguna ng mga veteranong Giorno, Lucy Cruz Valdez at Ed Lingao. Ihahatid namin SONA 2023, Ulat ng Pangulo, sa July 24, alas 3:30 ng hapon. Sama-sama nating tunghayan ang ikalawang State of the Nation Address ni Pangulong Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. Ang mga nagawa ng Pangulo sa kanyang unang taon sa palasyo, ating hihimayin sa pangunguna ng mga veteranong Giorno, Lucy Cruz Valdez at Ed Lingao. Ihahatid namin SONA 2023, Ulat ng Pangulo, sa July 24, alas 3:30 ng hapon.
Our country must become an investment destination. Wala na tayong gagawing lockdown. It is time for our children to return to full face-to-face classes once again. Infrastructure development will remain a very high priority in our drive for growth and employment. I will not preside over any process that will abandon even 1 square inch of territory. We will endure. The state of the nation is sound.
babatayan natin yung mga ginawa ng Pangulong Bongbong Marcos. Itong mga nakakaraang araw, di ba, Jester? Of course, inaasahan natin yung Maharlika Investment Fund na kamakailan lang inilagdaan niya. And matatandaan din natin na nung first SONA, ipinangako ng Pangulo yung tungkol sa pamamahagi ng lupa para sa mga magsasaka. Recently, ginawa niya rin, di ba, Jester?
So, isa yun sa mga dapat nating abangan. At the same time, yung konteksto rin na kumbaga na mangyayari itong SONA kung kailan kakaalis lang din natin doon sa jurisdiction ika nga ng ICC. No? So, titignan din natin, matatandaan natin nung unang SONA ng Pangulo, hindi nabanggit ang usapin tungkol sa human rights. So tignan natin kung magkakaroon ba ng kahit anong mababanggit man lamang ba yung usapin nga ng human rights at least sa ikalawang pagka-SONA ng ating Pangulo.
Oy, pero may mga legislative agenda si Presidente na binanggit sa unang SONA na hindi natupad for the first year. Anyway, unang taon pa lang naman, so let's see. Pero Bok, Luchi, bibigyan lang namin kayo ng brief rundown kung ano yung aasahan natin. Oras na dumating si Pangulong Bongbong Marcos dito sa Kongreso. Ano bang oras ngayon inaasahan na yung pagdating ni Presidente dito sa Kongreso mula sa Malacanang? Kung hindi magbabago yung plano, sasakay siya ng chopper. Pero of course, depende yan sa weather at saka yung iba pang mga factors na kailangan nilang consider. Upon landing, inaasahan na sasalubungin siya ng Chief of Protocols na si Secretary Adelio Cruz at ang hepe ng PSG na si Ramon Zagala. Sasalubungin siya ng mga miyembro ng Kongreso at ng Senado. Of course, sa pangunguna ni na Senate President Juan Miguel Zubiri at ni House Speaker Martin Romualdez. Didiretso ang Pangulo sa Executive Lounge dito sa Kongreso for a very brief private time bago siya bigyan ng signal para dumiretso sa plenaryo at doon nga idedeklara na yung pagbubukas ng joint session para makapagsimula na rin ang second SONA ni Presidente.
Kanina sa isang naunang panayam, kaya sa presidential son kay Congressman Sandro Marcos, sinabi rin niya na yung talumpati ng Pangulo ay inaasahang magtagal ng halos isang oras at kalahati. Medyo may kahabaan ito kumpara doon sa kanyang unang SONA na nagtagal na mga nasa 73 minutes, humigit kumulang isang oras at 13 minuto. So medyo may kahabaan ngayon. Pero sabi nga ni Sandro Marcos, pinilit daw ng kanyang ama na kahit papaano ay paikliin pa yung kanyang talumpati nang sa gayon ay hindi mawawala yung interest ng mga makikinig mamaya sa SONA.
O baka daw maging boring diba? Pero ang sinasabi nga kasi ang pinakamaikli pala na SONA na nangyari yung time ni former President Gloria Arroyo na parang more or less nasa 30 minutes lang yun fifth SONA niya. So mukhang ang gusto nila, nagkaroon daw ng kaunting revisions pa si Presidente kahapon nung nagkakaroon ng rehearsal dahil ayaw nilang mawala yung mga importanteng kailangan bigyan ng highlights. At the same time, sabi mo nga, Jess, dapat hindi boring.
Oo. Pero marami na tayo nakapanayam kanina ng mga senador at ibang kongresista at marami na rin sila mga nabanggit na inaasahan nila. Katulad na lang syempre kanina si Senator Idol Raffy Tulfo, nabanggit na isa sa mga gusto natin mabigyang linaw kung ano yung mga konkretong magiging proyekto, especially mula doon sa mga international trips ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos.
Ang nakausap din natin kanina, Bok, Luchi, Jester, etong si Brother Eddie Villanueva. 3 punto yung sinasabi niya pero isa na dyan yung moralidad daw ng leadership ng administrasyon. Tapos nariyan din yung poverty. Yun daw yung mga kabilang sa gusto niyang marinig.
And speaking of poverty, siyempre sa mga pangunahing goals na inilatag noong unang SONA ng Pangulo, ang goal by 2028, maibabayan to single digit by 9%. Pero nakita na rin naman natin sa mga huling survey, particular na sa SWS, at least kalahati ng populasyon ang kinukonsidera pa rin yung kanila mga sarili bilang mahirap. So tingnan natin kung ano eksakto yung magiging plataforma o programa ng Pangulo sa susunod na taon tungkol naman sa pagsubok sa kahirapan.
Bok, Luchi.
Because you're a co-equal
security na ng lehislatura dahil ang pinapahiwatig nito ay equal sila, pantay, no? Hindi nakalalamang ang Pangulo in a way, no? Bagamat siya ang Pangulo. Sa ayan, nakikita na natin, no? Ang sumasalubong sa Pangulo ngayon, once he steps out of the helicopter, no? Pagbaba niya mula sa kanyang chopper, ay nasa seguridad na siya o safety, nasa kamay na siya ng lehislatura. Kaya
may second layer pa ng symbolism yan eh. Pagpasok niya ng plenary, yung session hall, uupo sila doon sa sa taas, diba? Doon
sa stage.
Sa stage. I don't know if stage is the right word. Mali ba din naman, diba? Yung malaking lamesa doon, magkakatabi silang tatlo. Pare-pareho sila ng level.
So, Senado,
Kongreso.
At ang wala lang, hudikatura.
Oo nga eh. Sometimes I wonder about that.
Hindi, kasi ang State of the Nation, ayan na nga, papunta na, papasok na ng batasang pambansa ang Pangulo. Ano? At ang sumalubong nga sa kanya ay ang mga sergeants at arms ng House at ng Senado. Yan, makikita nyo. At pagpasok niya, ito ay sa rear entrance ng batasang pambansa, no? Kung nasaan naroon ng helipad.
Parang may quadrangle doon sa likod eh.
Yes. At sasalubungin siya dito ng Senate President.
Yeah, and then you have the honor guard, of course.
Ayan, syempre si AFP Chief of Staff. Katatalaga lang ni Romeo Browner, no?
Yan muna, you have first of all the military honors before he's turned over to the Sergeant at Arms. Before he goes into the
Yes.
into the Batasan complex.
Dahil alam naman natin na siyang Commander-in-Chief ng Armed Forces of the Philippines.
And from there, I understand he usually goes, or the President usually goes to the liaison office, the Presidential Legislative Liaison Office, because that's the connection between the legislature and the executive. That's parang his office.
Hindi lang yun, dahil alam niyo po, ang Pangulo ay higit kumulang isang beses lang kung dumalo dito sa Kongreso. No? At yan nga isang tinatawag na joint session. Dahil magkasama ang Senado at ang House of Representatives. At nakikita nga natin si Speaker Martin Romualdez
and si
at pati ng
Senate
Senate President Mig Zubiri. At kasama rin ng mga majority floor leader, diba? Ang mga deputy speakers of the House na right now ay siyam sila, no? Dumami na ng dumami ang mga deputy speakers ng House of Representatives. Kaya parami na
One out of every five
party.
natang in Congress is a senior officer of the House. Eh.
Yes. Okay, at this point, pwede nating i-turn over kay Mase at kay Jess dyan sa North Wing. Ano nangyayari dyan, Jess? Mase? At ang napapanood niyo po ay ang session hall. No? Ayan po ay top shot ng session hall kung saan naparami na rin ang mga upuan dyan, Ed, over the years. No? Dahil yung bilang din ng mga kongresista ay
I remember before it was less than 200 lang sila eh.
That's right, 250 in 1987. No, nung itinatag ang 1987 Constitution. Now, it's 316 congressmen, no? At hindi pa kabilang dyan, mga senador, mga spouses nila, mga, di ba, pamilya nila, at nandyan din ang gabinete, syempre, ni Pangulong Marcos.
And former presidents.
And, at
course,
diplomatic corps, syempre.
And judiciary.
That's right, ang hudikatura nandiyan dyan. Kaya, malaki talagang pagpupulong-pulong ito kung tutuusin at magaganap yan talaga sa annual State of the Nation address.
Which by tradition is always delivered in person by the President. But there was one occasion when it was not.
Yes, nasa ospital yata.
Nasa ospital si Pangulong
si
Elpidio Quirino. Nasa Maryland.
So nag-radio
broadcast siya. Wala pang internet nun eh. Wala pang YouTube.
Hindi lang yun. Meron ngang presidente na hindi nakapagsone, di ba? I think this was during the World War II, no? Nung Japanese war.
Yeah.
Sino nga to? Si President Osmeña yata? Or, hindi.
But you also had, kasi at one time, 2 presidents eh.
Yes.
You had Laurel.
Si Laurel.
Laurel with the
President.
Japanese
yes,
established
nung panahon
government.
ng Hapon, no?
Mm.
Tapos si President Osmeña yata nakaisa eh, di ba? Tapos
Yeah.
si Manuel Rojas din nakaisa. Alam mo, nakakatuwa, Ed, si Emilio Aguinaldo, ang unang, presidente ng
Pangulo.
Pilipinas, ay nag-SORNA, yun ang tawag, State of the Revolutionary Nation Address. Yan. Pero syempre, Malolos Congress ang hinarap niya noon. At yan po ang napapanood ninyo, ang ilan lang sa 2,000 inimbita na dumalo dito sa second SONA ng Pangulo.
You know, what some people were watching out for, just in case, you know how it is sometimes in Congress and the Senate, just in case na merong biglang movement in the morning doon sa leaderships ng Congress, like what happened in 2018.
Yung coup.
Di ba? Naman ako ulit ang coup. Kasi mamaya sabihin nila, coup plato na naman.
Tawag doon eh, di ba?
But you know, remember in 2018, si Pantelon Alvarez,
Yes.
biglang napatalsik ni
Gloria
Arroyo.
Arroyo.
Di ba? With the help of Sara Duterte.
Right.
So, people were wondering kung merong mangyayaring
Ganun.
with the rumblings over Martin Romualdez
Right.
and in part Mig Zubiri.
That's true. Pero pati si Migs nga, di ba? Hanggang ngayon, pinapangan natin kanina, pero pareho po silang na-re-elect. Sabihin na lang natin, si Mig Zubiri as Senate President at si House Speaker Martin Romualdez. At
Although those rumblings are also quite telling, parang also what's happening to
meron talaga.
what's happening to the unity team.
Yes, yan nga yun ang tanong nga ng marami. Maganda rin pag-uusapan yan talaga mamaya sa mga aming mga political analysts, no, kung ano na ba nangyayari sa unity team. Alam nyo naman po siguro na sa Kongreso ay may super majority. Bagamat iba-ibang political parties yan, ang dami nga
It's a
yan.
super-duper majority.
Alam mo, pag tinignan mo nga, lahat sila coalition member. Yan ang nangyayari, no? Hindi na sila na-define talaga by the party kasi hindi mo na rin alam kung what the parties really stand for.
It started
no?
with Joe De Venecia's Rainbow Coalitions.
That's true.
Magmula na parang it became a
Panahon pa ni FBR yan di
it
ba?
It became a regular thing in Congress na everybody swarms into the administration coalition just to make sure that you get the goodies. Well, maybe you shouldn't have put it that way.
Right. Eto, napapanood natin yan pa rin, nandun pa rin sila sa Legislative Hall, no? Kung saan dyan talaga nagkakaroon ng, well, it's not the word for it, no? Pero parang chikahan lang ba? Hindi ba? Ng,
The First Lady is wearing yellow.
yes, that's true. Kakulay ko, ha? Ikaw, ha? Nagbabasa ka ng simbolo
No,
dyan,
I'm not.
ha?
It's a bright color. It's a happy color.
And it symbolizes, well, the sun in the Philippine flag. So,
yeah, certainly.
it's part of the colors of the Philippine flag. And dapat lang ilagay rin sa traditional at historical context ang kulay na yan. Ikaw talaga, pilyo po si Ed.
May heraldry kagad
Bok,
na
ikaw, ha?
nahugot.
Huwag mo ako isama dyan. Ha? Okay. Okay, ang inyo pong napapanood ay ang mga unang bahagi ng Ikalawang State of the Nation address ng Pangulong Bongbong Marcos. Alam niyo naman po na ang SONA ay isang pag-uulat ng Pangulo. Pag-uulat niya ng mga nagawa na niya ng nakaraang taon at ang mga balak pa niyang gawin o buuin o kumpletuhin at ang mga batas na gusto niya sanang
Yes,
ipasa
certainly.
ng Kongreso bilang suporta para sa mga programa niya.
It's interesting, kanina yung usapan ni Jess at ni Mase, they wanted sana to make sure na mas maiksi ngayon ang SONA ng Pangulo. Pero he has a lot on his plate that he wants to deal with this coming this coming year.
Dama ko yun.
Oo, and I don't know how we can have a shorter SONA given all the challenges we'll be facing. For example, the NUP the pension
That's true,
issue.
malaking issue yun, di ba?
Madugong issue
na
yun.
Hindi pa nga natin malaman kung saan mauuwi yun. At very controversial. Alam niyo naman po, ang military din, bagamat tahimik yan, ay it plays a very, very big role role in the politics of this nation. Sabihin na lang natin, no? Suffice to say,
Are they the fifth
na
estate?
Oo nga, mahirap maging kagalit yan. At kita mo naman, Ed, napakagarbo rin talaga ng ginawa nilang paghahanda para sa SONA ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos. Nagdagdag po sila dyan ng mga karagdagang upuan para ma-accommodate lahat ng mga inimbitahan. At ang balita po namin ay hindi na nga po makakadalo si Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte. Ang nag-confirm lang po ng mga dating Pangulo ay si Pangulong Joseph Estrada at si Pangulong Gloria
Gloria Arroyo, I saw her a while ago.
Macapagal-Arroyo. At pwede ba nating makausap si Mase at si Jess mula sa Batasang
Hindi
Pambansa?
pa. Okay.
Okay, mamaya po babalikan po natin sila. Samantala, tayo po naman ay nag-aantabay pa rin sa kung kailan po papasok ang Pangulong Marcos sa session hall. Hindi mo rin ma-predict talaga, Ed, kung gaano karaming pinag-uusapan, no? Kung anong mga diskusyon na nagaganap. Samantala, kami po ay magbabalik para swak na swak sa pagsisimula ng SONA. Kami po ay babalik, huwag po kayong aalis, kayo po ay nanonood sa special coverage ng News 5, ang State of the Nation Address, Ulat ng Pangulo. Tabayanan pa rin po natin ang panimula ng State of the Nation Address, ang pangalawa ng Pangulong Bongbong Marcos. No?
Balikan po natin sina Maricel Halili at si Jess De Los Santos. Mase, Jess, go ahead. Okay, siguro
Alright.
balikan natin mamaya. At
Mukhang patungo na sa session hall sa mga sandaling ito ang Pangulong Bongbong Marcos. No? At katatapos-tapos lamang yata nito nung kanilang diskusyon o tsikahan sa Legislative Hall. At nasa likuran po niya ang AFP Chief of Staff na si General Romeo Bronner. At medyo mahaba rin ang distansyang yan, Ed, mula sa Legislative Hall kung saan sila narong kanina, sa lounge na yon, papunta sa plenary kung tawagin. No? Lahat po ng batas ay dyan talaga pinagbobotohan ng buong Kongreso sa kanilang mga regular session. Alam
Ito,
niyo po,
malapit-lapit na.
ang SONA ng Pangulo po ay nagmamarka rin ng panimula ng sesyon ng Kongreso, both the Senate and the House, di ba? And we're now talking about their second regular session. Kumbaga, ito ang pangalawang taon nila bilang mga legislator. Yan.
In the past, it was always on June 16 kasi that was the date set by the previous constitutions for the resumption of the regular session.
Yes.
And then,
Marcos yata nagsimula nitong fourth Monday of July.
and then it moved to the fourth Monday of the year, naging January.
Nag-January pa,
nag-January,
no?
nag-January.
I think there were two or three presidents
yeah.
na nagsona ng January.
Ang nabutan mo yun.
Ikaw talaga.
Sorry.
At naku, mukhang relax na relax ang Pangulo, no? At very confident.
And here we
Alam
go.
niyo,
This
eto
shot was also what marked the last year.
Ito talaga, totoo yan. Yan ang talagang pasukan, ika nga, ng session hall ng Kongreso.
This was also the shot that marked last year's SONA. It was the first time last year that a shot was like that was done.
Ang programa po ngayon ay hatid ng RTVM, Radio TV Malacanang. At sila po ang nangasiwa nito. Nung nakaraan po ay si Public Communications Head Paul
Strategic Committee,
Soriano.
yes.
Oo, ang namuno. Pero ngayon, RTVM ang nanguna rito.
Which is unusual, kasi the past SONAs, parating they bring in somebody.
Some director na renowned.
We had Brillante
no?
Mendoza for a while.
Yes, that's true.
Parang ni Pangulong Digong.
Oo. At yan, kinakamayan na niya isa-isa rin ang kung sino man ang nasa kanyang lakaran. Yeah. It's very august, no? To be fair, talagang very solemn ang SONA, no? Dahil naririto nga ang pinaka-nuknukan ng kataas-taasan ng pinuno ng ating pamahalaan.
And the Batasan Session Hall, it does inspire a certain amount of awe.
Oo naman.
When you're inside.
Well, alam mo, to the credit of the old Ferdinand Marcos, I mean, the senior, no? Ang dami niya talagang mga infrastruktura na nagbibigay ng ganyang klaseng, sabihin na natin, no? Parang prestige.
Grandiosity.
Grandiosity, that's the word. Sa mga istruktura ng pamahalaan. Last few steps on to the presidential rostrum where he will deliver the State of the Nation address. And he will be flanked by the House Speaker to his left and to his right, the Senate President. Pakinggan po natin.
Mr. President. On the part of the Senate, the joint session is hereby called to order.
On the part of the House of Representatives, the joint session is called to order. Please remain standing for the singing of the Philippine National Anthem to be led by Ms. Lara Marie Moscardon Maige.
Bayang magiliw, perlas ng silanganan, alab ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupig, di ka pasisiil, sa dagat at pundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong bughaw. May dilag ang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal, ang kislap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagniningning, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may di magdidilim. Lupa ng araw ng luwalhatit pagsinta, buhay ay langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya na pag may manghahapi ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Please remain standing for the nation's prayer.
Kindly bow your heads in prayer. O Diyos na makapangyarihan, manlilikha, tagapagbigay buhay at tagapagligtas. Salamat po sa inyong paggabay sa buong sandaigdigan, lalo na sa pagkalinga sa sangkatauhan mula sa dumating na pandemya. Maraming salamat sa mga pagbibiyayang patuloy ninyong ibinibigay sa aming minamahal na bayang Pilipinas.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma barik lana hada al-ijtima. Sa pagtitipong ito, kasihan niyo po kami ng inyong banal na diwa at liwanag upang ang gawin ito ay magbunga ng ginhawa at kasiyahan sa pang-araw-araw na gawin ito, araw-araw na buhay na sambayanan. Salamat po sa muling pagsigla ng aming ekonomiya sa pag-unlad ng agrikultura at turismo, pag-inam ng education at pagkalahatan pang-agat ng ibang sektor ng serbisyo, production at pangangalakal na nagbibigay sa amin ng pagkain at kabuhayan. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanatan wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina adhaban nar. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
Salamat po sa matibay na bigkis ng aming pamilya at lipunan. Nakalakip ng kaloob niyong matibay na pananampalataya sa inyo at ang aming pananalig sa pamahalaan ay sama-samang bumuo ng aming matibay na pundasyon bilang isang bayan. Ang pamilya, pamahalaan at pananalig namin sa inyo, Ama, ang siya rin naming sandigan, kanlungan, at bukal ng lakas sa pagharap at pananagumpay sa maraming hamon ng buhay.
Salamat po sa pag-iral ng kapayapaan at kaayusan sa gitna at sa kabila ng iba't ibang pananaw, sa marubdob at masiglang diskurso ng aming demokrasya. Tulungan niyo po kami upang makamit ang mas malalim, matibay, malawak na kapayapaan sa ikabubuti ng lahat. Akayin niyo po kami sa pagpapaunlad panglalo ng ekonomiya upang makarating ang mas maraming biyaya sa bawat tahanang Pilipino. Kalakip nito, bigyan niyo rin po kami ng dunong at pagkakaisa sa pagharap at pangangasiwa ng hamon ng climate change.
Maghari po kayo ng ganap ang inyong banal na diwa sa puso at isip ng aming mga mamamayan at mga pinuno, mga mambabatas, na mamahala at mga hukom, sampu ng kanilang mga tauhan, upang ang buong katapatan, ang paglilingkod nila at kagandahang loob na manguna sila at maglingkod tungo sa mapayapa, makatarungan, maayos, maunlad, masagana at masayang pamumuhay ng buong sambayanan.
Itinatalaga po namin ang gawain ito sa inyo pong mabunyi at dakilang pangalan.
Ladies and gentlemen, honorable members of Congress of the Philippines, His Excellency Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr., President of the Republic of the Philippines.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Allow me to greet Vice President Sara Zimmerman Duterte, the former presidents, our former presidents, President Joseph Ejercito Estrada and President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, Senate President Juan Miguel Zubiri, and the honorable members of the Senate, House Speaker Ferdinand Martin Romualdez, and the honorable members of the House of Representatives, Chief Justice Alexander Gismundo, and the honorable justices of the Supreme Court, His Excellency, Most Reverend Charles John Brown, and the esteemed members of the Diplomatic Corps, Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin and the members of the Cabinet, First Lady Luis Araneta Marcos, former First Lady Imelda Romualdez Marcos, other distinguished guests, mga minamahal kong kababayan, ladies and gentlemen, magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. 1 year ago today, I stood here before you, setting forth the plans that we have to improve our economy, bring jobs to our people, improve the ease of doing business, recalibrate our educational system to adapt to the new economy, lower and rationalize energy costs, boost agricultural production, enhance healthcare, and continue social programs for the poor and the vulnerable. Let me now report to the people on the successes that we can now lay claim to, and also the challenges that we continue to face. Last year, we emphasized certain strong headwinds that were confronting us along with the rest of the world in our post-pandemic economic recovery. And the biggest problem that we encountered was inflation. Maraming kaganapan sa mundo ang nakapagpagulos sa maayos na takbo ng pandaigdigang merkado. Bukod sa digmaan sa Ukraine, naroon ang patuloy na epekto ng pandemya. Pinalala pa ito ng pagbabawas ng produksyon ng mga bansang pinagkukuhanan natin ng langis. Nang tumaas ang presyo nito, nagsunura na rin ang presyo ng iba't ibang bilihin, ang gasolina, ang kuryente at ang pagkain. Ramdam sa buong daigdig, pati na sa Pilipinas, ang naging pagtaas ng mga presyo ng bilihin noong mga nakalipas na buwan. Sinuri nating mabuti ang sitwasyon. Sa tulong ng ating mga ekonomista, nakapagbalangkas tayo ng mga polisiya na magsisilbing pundasyon ng ating ekonomiya sa mga susunod na taon. Ito ay nakasaad sa ating medium-term fiscal framework na sinuportahan ninyo sa Kongreso. Kasabay nito ang paglulunsad ng mga estratehiya na mapalakas sa kakayahan ang ating mga kababayan at mga sektor ng ating ekonomiya. Nakakita po tayo ng magagandang resulta. While the global prospects were bleak, our economy posted a 7.6% growth in 2022, our highest growth rate in 46 years. For the first quarter of this year, our growth has registered at 6.4%. It remains within our target of 6 to 7% for 2023. We are still considered to be amongst the fastest growing economies in the Asian region and in the world. It is a testament to our strong macroeconomic fundamentals. Our financial system, the nerve center of our economy, remains strong and stable. Banks, the transmission arms of our monetary policy, have strong capital and liquidity positions. Stimulated by the relaxation of pandemic restrictions, Transactions once again have flourished alongside the booming e-commerce that was undeterred by the pandemic in 2022. The digital economy contributed 2 trillion pesos, the equivalent of 9.4% of our GDP. The economy is revived and rejuvenated, backstopped by a favorable enabling environment and the strong rule of law. This year, the World Bank projects a 6% overall growth rate, well within the range of our targets for the year. It is anchored on strong local demand, underpinned by consumer spending, and draws strength from the BPO industry and, of course, the steady flow of remittances and the continuing jobs recovery. Inflation rate is moving in the right direction. From 8.7% in January, our inflation has continued to ease up in all regions, settling now at 5.4% for June. What this means is that in spite of all the difficulties, we are transforming the economy. We are stabilizing the prices of all critical commodities. According to the Bangko Sentral, inflation is expected to ease further by the close of the year and projected at 2.9% by 2024. On matters of the economy, there are many things over which we have no control. But over those where we do have control, we are doing everything we can. Puspusan ang ating ginagawa upang pataasin ang produksyon ng ating ekonomiya. Pinapalago natin ang mga industriya. Dinadagdagan natin ang mga infrastruktura upang mas mapabilis ang daloy ng mga produkto at ng serbisyo. Higit sa lahat, pinapalakas natin ang kakayahan ng mga mamamayan upang mapaganda nila ang kanilang pamumuhay. Ito ang punot dulo ng ating Philippine Development Plan. Investments in public infrastructure and in the capacity of our people through food, education, health, jobs, and social protection remain our top priority. For this year, economic and social services were allocated almost 70% of the national budget. Higher revenue collections will be critical in our bid to bolster public investments. Under our fiscal framework, we envision our tax and revenue efforts to further increase to up to 16.9% and 17.3% by 2028. Revenue generation has improved this year. From January to May, the Bureau of Internal Revenue has posted record collections amounting to 1.05 trillion pesos, an increase of almost 10% over the last year. For its part, the Bureau of Customs has also increased its collection by 7.4% for the first 7 months of 2023, amounting to 476 billion pesos. Since July 2022, we have seen increased revenues from PAGCOR of 47.9% and from the PCSO of 20%. We therefore seek, once again, the continued support of Congress to enact into law the policies and reforms under our fiscal framework. Sa mga nakalipas na buwan, nakita natin ang pagbaba ng presyo ng bilihin sa iba't ibang mga sektor. Napatunayan natin na kayang maipababa ang presyo ng bigas, karne, isda, gulay at asukal. Malaking tulong ang Kadiwa Stores na ating muling binuhay at inilunsad. Ang layunin ng Kadiwa ay pag-ugnayin ang mga magsasaka at ang mga mamimili. Walang iba pang namamagitan. Wala nang dagdag na gastos at patong. Maganda ang kita ng magsasaka, nakakatipid din ang mga mamimili. Sa mahigit 7,000 kadiwa na idinaos sa buong Pilipinas, 1.8 million na pamilya ang nakinabang sa mababang presyo ng bilihin. Sa kabuuan, halos 700 milyong piso ang naging benta ng mga ito na nakapagbigay ng hanap buhay sa mga membro ng mahigit 3,000 na kooperatiba at samahan. Maganda ang nakita nating resulta, kaya papalawigin pa natin ang Kadiwa sa buong bansa. Kamakailan lamang ay nagsanib puwersa na ang mga ahensya ng pamahalaan upang lalo pang patibayin ang kadiwa. Katuwang natin dito ang buong sektor ng agrikultura at ang lokal na pamahalaan. Our aim is to boost our local agricultural production through consolidation, modernization, mechanization, and improvement of value chains, augmented by timely and calibrated importation as needed. Nakita nating tumaas ng 2.2% ang sektor ng agrikultura sa unang 3 buwan ng taong ito. In our quest for food security, our methods are now more guided by science and the balance of nature, so that production is both sustainable and responsible, benefiting both this and future generations. Our fisheries codes must be revised to incorporate and strengthen science-based analysis and determination of fishing areas. This approach will protect both the interests of our fisherfolk and our fisheries and aquatic resources. To this end, we will seek the support of Congress to amend the code to guarantee sustainable development of our fisheries sector in harmony with environmental balance. Ipinagbubuklod natin ang mga magsasaka sa pamamagitan ng farm and fisheries clustering at mga livestock multiplier farms. 300 cluster na ang ating natukoy na binubuo ng halos 700 kooperatiba at may lawak na mahigit na 200,000 hektarya ng bukirin. Upang mas mapabilis at mas mapadali ang pagbuo ng kooperatiba, kakailanganin natin ang suporta ng Kongreso na maamyendahan ang Cooperative Code. Sa pamamagitan nito, unti-unting lalakas ang kanilang produksyon at puwersa sa merkado. Totoo ang kasabihan, mas malapas basta't sama-sama. Pinapalawak natin ang kanilang kaalaman sa makabagong mga teknolohiya at pamamaraan. Isa na rito ang paggamit ng biofertilizer na gawa sa Pilipinas at subok din at maaasahan. Sa balanced fertilizer strategy, gaganda ang ani ng mga magsasaka. Hindi na nila kailangan pang umasa sa mas mahal at imported na fertilizer. Bilang tulong sa mga magsasaka, namigay ang pamahalaan ng mahigit 28,000 mga makabagong makinarya at mga kagamitan sa iba't ibang dako ng Pilipinas. Sa ilalim ng iba't ibang mga programa ng kagawaran ng agrikultura, namigay ang pamahalaan ng mahigit na 50 milyong binhi ng palay, mahigit 1 milyong binhi ng mais, at sari-saring mga binhi ng gulay. Nagpamigay tayo ng mahigit 100,000 binhi ng nyug at nagpatanim sa halos 10,000 hektarya ng lupa sa buong bansa. Lahat ng mga binhing ito ay makabago, hybrid, at mataas ang kalidad. Sa naging pagtaas ng presyo ng gasolina at pataba, nagdala ng kaunting ginhawa ang mga fuel at fertilizer discount vouchers na ating pinamigay sa mga nahihirapang magsasaka. Ang mga natanggap nating donasyon na pataba mula sa China, pinimigay na natin kaagad sa kanila. Isa sa mga dahilan ng pagtaas ng presyo ay ang mga smuggler, mga hoarder at mga nagmamanipula ng presyo ng produktong agrikultural. Hinahabol at ihaabla natin sila. Sadyang hindi tama ang kanilang gawain at hindi rin ito tugma sa ating magandang layunin. Pandaraya ang kanilang ginagawa. Napapahamak hindi lamang ang mga magsasaka, kundi tayo rin mga mamimili. Kaya hindi natin papayagan ang ganitong kalakaran. Bilang na ang mga araw ng mga smuggler at hoarder na yan. Mahalaga ang infrastruktura para masuportahan ang may 14 na milyong hektarya ng sakahan. Inayos natin ang geo-agri-map ng mga farm-to-market roads ng buong bansa upang maidugtong mabuti ang mga sakahan sa mga pamilihan. Alinsunod dito, karagdagang 600 kilometro ng mga FMR ang ating nilatag sa iba't ibang panig ng bansa. Binigyan din natin ng patubig ang mahigit na 49,000 hektarya ng bukirin sa buong Pilipinas. Nagpagawa tayo ng halos 4,000 mga karagdagang fabrication lab, production at cold storage facility na magagamit ng lahat. Sa tulong ng Kongreso, nakapagpatayo tayo ng 24 na multi-species hatcheries upang maparami ang produksyon ng mga isda. Nakabantay tayo sa anumang banta ng mga sakit at peste na maaring dumapo sa mga pananim at alagang hayop. Malapit na tayong magkaroon ng mga epektibong gamot at bakuna labang sa mga ito. Samantala, pinapalakas natin ang biosecurity levels ng mga alagang hayop bilang panlaban sa sakit. Tayo rin ay naghahanda sa El Nino na nagbabadyang tumama sa mga darating na buwan. Nagsimula na tayong maghanda at ang mga buffer stock at ang mga kagamitang patubig ay hinahanda na. Kung kinakailangan, magsasagawa pa tayo ng cloud seeding upang makapagdala ng ulan. Kasabay ng lahat na ito, hinihimok din natin ang ating sambayanan na magtipid ng tubig para sa malawakang paghanda sa banta ng tagtuyot. Tulad ng ating ipinangako, ipinagpatuloy natin ang reformang pansakahan. Mahalagang haligi ito ng sektor ng agrikultura na ating inaayos. Nitong nakalipas na taon, mahigit 70,000 titulo ng lupa ang ginawad sa mga benepisyaryo ng reformang agraryo. Tamang-tama ang ating pagpapatigil ng mga bayarin ng mga benepisyaryo sa ilalim ng ating nilagdaan EO number 4. 1 taon mula nung aking unang SONA na isabatas na ang bagong Agrarian Emancipation Act. Dahil dito, ang 57 billion piso ng utang na pinapasan ng mahigit 600,000 benepisyaryo ay tuluyan ng nabura. Sa ngalan ng mga magsasakang ito at ang kanilang mga pamilya, maraming salamat muli sa ating mga mambabatas. Ang tubig ay kasing halaga rin ng pagkain. Kailangan natin tiyakin na may sapat at malinis na tubig para sa lahat at sa mga susunod na salinlahi. Kasama na rito ang tubig na ginagamit natin para sa sakahan. Considering its fundamental importance, water security deserves a special focus. Our efforts must not be scattershot, but rather cohesive, centralized, and systematic. So given that urgency, we have created the Water Resources Management Office to specifically handle the delicate job involving this most precious resource. Nakikipag-ugnayan tayo sa Kongreso upang maipasa ang batas para sa pagbuo ng isang Department of Water Resource Management. This year, we have allocated 14.6 billion pesos for water supply projects, which will benefit communities all over the country. Recently, the water supply of NCR and Rizal received a significant boost from the first phase of the Wawa Bulk Water Supply Project. The water supply will increase as the project enters the second phase. We have installed 6,000 rainwater collection systems across the country in preparation for the looming dry spell brought about by El Nino. One of the keys to continuing economic growth is infrastructure development. So we will build better and more. Our 8.3 trillion peso Build Better More program is currently in progress and being vigorously implemented. Ang buong bansa ay makikinabang sa 174 na proyekto sa ilalim ng programang ito. Hindi lamang natin pinapagpatuloy ang mga nasimulan ng mga proyekto, lalo pa natin pinapalawak. Kaya naman, ang 123 proyekto dito sa Build Better More program ay bago. The flagship projects cover investments in the areas of physical connectivity, water resources, agriculture, health, digital connectivity, and energy. Physical connectivity infrastructure, such as roads and bridges, seaports, airports, mass transport, account for 83% of this program. Our infrastructure spending will stay at 5 to 6% of our GDP. The underlying logic to our infrastructure development is economic efficiency. We are opening up all gateways to mobilize goods and services at less cost and in less time, and ultimately to drive the economy forward. Our road network plans must link not only our 3 major islands, but all prospective sites of economic development. The 1,200-kilometer Luzon Spine Expressway Networks program will effectively connect Ilocos to Bicol from 20 hours to just 9 hours of travel. Under the Mega Bridge program, 12 bridges totaling 90 kilometers will be constructed, connecting islands and areas separated by waters. The program notably includes the Bataan-Cavite Interlink Bridge and the Panay-Guimaras-Negros Island bridges, each spanning 32 kilometers, and also the Samal Island Davao City Connector Bridge. As of June this year, we have constructed, maintained, and upgraded more than 4,000 kilometers of roads and around 500 bridges across the country. Crucial airport and port development projects across the country have also been completed, including Cebu Pier's 88 Smart Port and the new passenger terminal buildings of Clark Airport and the Port of Calapan. We initiated several railway projects with a total length of more than 1,000 kilometers. Notably, the southern leg of the North-South commuter railway system is now in full swing. In a few years, travel from Pampanga to Laguna will be reduced from 4 hours to just 2. Intermodal connectivity will also be a primary consideration. Roads, bridges, and mass transport systems will be interconnected. This network will provide access and passage to vital and bustling economic markets, such as agriculture hubs, tourism sites, and key business districts. For strategic financing, some of the nation's high-priority projects can now look to the newly established Maharlika Investment Fund without the added debt burden. In pooling a small fraction of the considerable but underutilized government funds, the funds shall be used to make high-impact and profitable investments, such as the Build Better More program. The gains from the fund shall be reinvested into the country's economic well-being. To ensure sound financial management, a group of internationally recognized economic managers shall oversee the operations of the fund, guided by the principles of transparency and accountability. This guarantees that investment decisions will be based on financial considerations alone, absent any political influence. The funds for the social security and public health insurance of our people shall remain intact and separate. Owing to favorable market conditions, the price of crude oil has stabilized. Since last year, gasoline and diesel prices have gone down by 18% to 29% respectively. We have built 8 new additional power plants. This brings to 17 the total number of power generation facilities that have been switched on across the country since last year, substantially increasing our energy production by 1,174 megawatts. Alongside power generation, we are also as relentless in pursuing total electrification. Since my assumption into office, almost 500,000 homes have been given access to electricity. We will spare no effort to achieve full household electrification by the end of my term. 100% is within our reach. When it comes to energy, renewable energy is the way forward. We are aggressively promoting renewables so that it provides a 35% share in the power mix by 2030, and then on to 50% by 2040. To accelerate the realization of this green energy goal, we have opened renewable energy projects to foreign investments. Since last year, an additional 126 renewable energy contracts with a potential capacity of 31,000 megawatts have been awarded. To date, we have over 1,000 active projects spread all over the country. 299 of these are solar, 187 are wind, 436 are hydroelectric, 58 biomass, 36 geothermal, and 9 are ocean-powered. The Malampaya project has been a boon to our country, energizing 20% of Luzon. The renewal of the contract guarantees continued revenues and energy production for another 15 years. But aside from Malampaya, we will also push for more gas exploration in other parts of the country. The national government has also partnered with the BARM in regard to energy exploration and development, and also its utilization within its territorial jurisdiction. We therefore expect to see renewed investor interest in its promising sites. We finally have a unified national grid with the interconnection of the Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao grids. The one grid, one market will enable more efficient transfers and more competitive pricing of electricity throughout the country. However, 68 grid connections are much delayed, according to the ERC's count. We are conducting a performance review of our private concessionaire, the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines. We look to NGCP to complete all of its deliverables, starting with the vital Mindanao, Visayas, and Cebu Negros Panay interconnections. Habang pinapabuti natin ang lagay ng ekonomiya, pinapalakas din natin ang kakayahan ng Pilipino. Ito ay sa pamamagitan ng mahalagang armas ng edukasyon, magandang kalusugan at trabaho. Malaking bahagi ng pondo ng pamahalaan ay inilaan para sa mga ito. Sa ating pagtahak sa kaunlaran, walang mamamayang Pilipino ang maiiwanan. Para sa atin, ang bawat buhay ay mahalaga. Ano man ang edad, kasarian, pangkat, relihiyon o pisikal na kondisyon, sila ay kukupkupin at tutulungan. Naglalaan tayo ng sapat na pondo para sa mga paglingap ng mga lubos na nangangailangan. Layunin natin na sila ay makabangon, mabigyan ng sapat ng kakayahan at maging produktibo. Hindi lamang DSWD, kundi pati ang DOLE, ang DepEd, TESDA, CHED ay tumutulong sa ating mga kababayang nangangailangan. Ang AIX, TUPAD, TVET for Social Equity, Social Pension for Indigent Senior Citizens, at ang Cash for Work para sa mga PWDs ay ilan lamang sa mga mahahalagang programa ng pamahalaan para sa kanila. Nariyan din ang Integrated Livelihood Program Kabuhayan upang matulungan ang mga maliliit na negosyo. We are inclusive in our pursuit of social protection. The pension of the military and the uniformed personnel is as important, as urgent, and as humanitarian as that of all other civilian Filipino employees. Efforts are underway to make it fully functional and financially sustainable. We are once again working closely with Congress to ease the transition from the old system to the new one, so as to be able to guarantee that no effects are felt by those in the uniformed services. Nagsisimula ang lahat sa edukasyon. Ito ay para palakasin ang isip at kakayahan ng bawat Pilipino. Ang ating butihing Vice Presidente na kalihim din ng kagawaran ng edukasyon ay tumutulong upang tiyakin na ang bawat batang Pilipino ay mabibigyan ng nararapat at kalidad na edukasyon. We have renewed hope in giving the best to our next batches of students, especially the 28.4 million learners who return to school this year. Learning recovery will be at the forefront of our education agenda. The Matatag Agenda for Basic Education has been launched, focusing on relevance of curriculum, rapid and responsive delivery, and the welfare of both learners and teachers. We are augmenting as well our school workforce. 90% of the newly created teaching positions have now been filled, while additional administrative personnel have been hired to unburden the teachers of any extra load. Taking to heart the lessons of the pandemic, alternative delivery modes and blended learning methodologies have been adopted to ensure unhampered learning. Additional social safety nets, such as school-based feeding programs, are also being implemented. Learners will be made more resilient. Our public schools and facilities are being increased and fortified. The shortage of classrooms and facilities is being addressed. Aside from new construction, schools and facilities are being retrofitted to become ready for the future, ready for hybrid and high-tech learning, and also climate-ready and disaster-proof. Through the DepEd Partnership Assistance Portal, private sector partners continue their assistance in the rehabilitation and improvement of schools as part of their corporate social responsibility programs. We are recalibrating the K-10 curriculum to ensure that it is always relevant, responsive, and at par with international standards. Literacy and numeracy skills need to be strengthened. The virtue of good citizenship and sense of community are also now integrated into our curriculum. We continue to exhaust all efforts to keep our young people away from the sinister influences in the dark corners of society. We are making available to them their participation in formal schooling, alternative learning, non-diploma courses, or in technical vocational education and training, or TVET. TVET continues to prove itself to be an empowering educational intervention. There are many examples of how its graduates have gone on to secure competitive technical jobs. Since last year, more than 1 million Filipinos graduated from the TVET, one-third of whom were TESDA scholars. More and more of our higher education institutions have reached world-class status. This year, 52 Philippine HEIs have been included in the World Universities rankings compared to just 15 last year. We will not let a student's financial constraints be an hindrance to his or her education. We have activated social safety nets, such as skills development training and youth employment programs. Tertiary education in state universities and colleges will remain free for our qualified students. Last year, out of the 4.1 million enrolled college students, almost 50% were beneficiaries of the country's free higher education under the Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education program. Deserving and talented students without the financial capacity to attend school will not be left behind in this education agenda. A culture of innovation, working hand in glove with a culture of entrepreneurship, must be fostered. This is Philippinovation. Science and technology, especially R&D, will be at its foundation. The DOST leads the development of our capabilities in science, technology, and innovation. Science and technology-related scholarships are made available for the talented and technically gifted students from high school all the way to graduate school. To address the challenge of staying at the cutting edge of technology, 44 renowned Filipino scientists in diverse areas of expertise have returned home under the Balik Scientist Program. They will undertake research in various priority fields and will be supported by upgraded facilities and R&D funding. The Philippines has launched 2 additional satellites into space. Together with the first satellite, they will track weather, predict storms, evaluate soil and water supplies, analyze shifts in population, and be used for traffic management, geohazard mapping, risk assessment, and even including security and defense. Science, technology, and innovation will drive the quality and competitiveness of our workforce, as well as our manufacturing, export, creative, and service industries, in existing markets and in new ones waiting to be explored. The bane of the mismatch between jobs and skills among our workforce is being rectified through strengthened government, industry, labor, academe partnerships, and the continuous reskilling and upskilling training programs that we have put before our workforce. For our seafarers to continue to excel, maritime education in the Philippines has been strengthened. This will progress and solidify our country's position as a global maritime hub through the steady supply of competent Filipino seafarers to foreign merchant marine vessels. The question about the European Union's recognition of the standards of training of Filipino seafarers has, after 17 years, finally been resolved. This development now effectively maintains the Filipino seafarers' distinct competitive advantage in the global shipping labor market. To address the current shortage of healthcare professionals in our country and to help us achieve our goal of universal healthcare, we are greatly expanding our medical and nursing education programs. We will push the envelope even further. We are helping nursing graduates hurdle their board exams so that they will obtain their licenses and join our pool of healthcare professionals. Ang kalusugan ang ikalawang armas para sa lakas ng pangangatawan ng bawat Pilipino. Isinusulong natin muli ang kalusugan ng Pilipino. We are now refocusing our health priorities, applying the lessons learned from the pandemic and addressing the weaknesses that it has exposed. Healthier communities and lifestyles are our advocacy. We have launched convergent programs to address hunger and nutrition-related issues amongst our people, especially the children, like stunting and wasting. Last week, we introduced the pilot food stamp program, which seeks to supply the nutrition needs of the 1 million most food-poor Filipinos. The FSP shall complement our nutrition continuity programs, such as the First 1,000 Days program, which ensures nourishment for the first 3 years of a child's life. The supplemental feeding program is for our children attending daycare centers. The K-6 program will feed kindergarten to grade 6 public school students who are suffering from wasting and severe malnutrition. We are catching up on the routine vaccinations of our children. As of this year, more than 80% of our eligible children have been vaccinated against measles, rubella, and polio. Nananawagan ako sa lahat ng mga magulang na kumpletuhin ang mga bakuna ng kanilang mga anak at magtungo sa pinakamalapit na health center para sa mga libreng bakuna. The whole of society must exert efforts to suppress the alarming rise of tuberculosis and HIV/AIDS. To stem the tide, the strategic plan is to ensure early diagnosis and treatment and ample testing sites and medications. Our healthcare system is undergoing structural changes. Public health facilities are being increased, both in number and in capability. Last year, more than 3,400 projects were completed. To improve capacity for specialized medical treatment, specialty centers in various fields are being established and integrated into our government hospitals. And in the last year, additional 60 specialty centers have been opened to the public. Just last week, we inspected the site of what will soon be a 5-hectare multi-specialty center in Pampanga, which will specialize in pediatrics, cardiology, kidney, and cancer treatment. We are working for a more direct, efficient delivery of services through integrated primary care providers and networks in partnerships with the LGUs and our partners in the private sector. These shall, of course, be supported by what is now a better and more efficient PhilHealth. Ang presyo ng mga mahalaga at pangunahing gamot ay bumaba ng humigit kumulang ng 40%. Mayroon ding iba na bumaba na hanggang 70%. Aside from the maximum retail price regulation being implemented, strategic VAT exemptions also lowered the prices of 59 essential medications such as those for cancer, diabetes, hypertension, kidney disease, and mental illness. Palapit na tayo. Palapit na tayo sa hangarin na ang lahat ng Pilipino ay makakakuha ng serbisyong pangkalusugan. Sa ngayon, mahigit 93% na ang kasapi sa PhilHealth. Sa pinagandang konsulta package ng PhilHealth, 21 klase ng mga gamot at 13 laboratory service ang ibibigay ng libre. Ngayon, meron na tayong mahigit 2,000 konsulta center sa buong bansa. Ang bilang na ito ay mas marami ng 35% mula nung nakalipas na taon. Upang mas lalo pang makatulong sa mga pasyente, ang dating 70 libreng dialysis session ay inakyat na natin sa 156. Mga kababayan, libre na po ngayon ang dialysis para sa karamihan ng Pilipino. Noong nakalipas na taon, mahigit 3.4 milyon na Pilipino ang nabigyan ng tulong sa ilalim ng Medical Assistance for Indigent Patients, program ng DOH. Tinutugunan natin ngayon ang ating kakulangan sa mga doktor at mga nurse sa pamamagitan ng mga reforma sa edukasyon, patuloy na pagsasanay at paniniguro sa kanilang kapakanan. Naglagay po tayo ng doktor sa halos 200 munisipyo sa bansa. Lalagyan natin din ng doktor ang natitirang 19 na bayan na wala pang doktor. Upang masuklian naman natin ang naging sakripisyo ng ating mga health workers sa pribado at pampubliko ng mga ospital nung nakaraang pandemya, ipapamahagi na sa kanila ang kanilang COVID Health Emergency Allowance at iba pang mga nabinbing benepisyo. Kasabay ng pangangalaga natin sa edukasyon at kalusugan ng ating mamamayan, tinitiyak din natin na may sapat at magandang hanap buhay sa loob at maging sa labas ng bansa. As of May this year, our employment rate rose to 95.7%, clear proof of the improvement from the severe unemployment that we experienced during the height of the pandemic. Employment then was at a low of 82.4%. But even with our current high level of employment, we must do more. We will generate additional jobs for the remaining 4.3% of our workforce, as well as for the 11.7% underemployed Filipinos seeking better employment opportunities. Under the banner of our fast-growing economy, we are aggressive in our investment in business promotions and facilitations. For that, we have not limited ourselves to the local economy, but we have looked to the global economy for partnerships and agreements. Our independent foreign policy, a friend to all and enemy of none, has proven effective. We have formed strategic alliances with our traditional and newfound partners in the international community. We have embarked on foreign trips to promote the interest of the country for peace building and for mutually beneficial purposes. These economic missions have yielded an estimated total investment value of 3.9 trillion pesos or 71 billion US dollars, with a potential to generate 175,000 jobs. The implementation of recent economic reforms is underway. BOI-approved investment projects have reached 1.2 trillion pesos during our first year, while other strategic investments approved for processing through the newly established green lanes amount now to 230 billion pesos. Our existing bilateral and multilateral trade agreements, notably within the ASEAN framework, and with Japan and with Europe, and allow us to leverage our competitive advantages and reap economic benefits. We will continue to forge more of these international partnerships that will lead to a more balanced trade strategy and a healthier economic position. The Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, or RCEP, is now in force. It is a multilateral trade arrangement with the ASEAN and other countries such as Australia, China, Japan, Korea, and New Zealand. We can now have competitive access to a regional market that comprises 2 billion people. As we address our weaknesses and develop competitiveness in other potential areas, we must also play to our strengths. Our competitive advantage must be leveraged. As a service export powerhouse, we must continue to nurture the growth of the services sector, particularly the information technology business process management sector, and of course, the tourism industry. Our tourism has always been a reliable pillar of our economic growth through the years, providing livelihood to more than 5 million of our citizens. Because of the reopening of the economy and the phenomenon of revenge travel, this sector is headed for a great rebound. From January to June this year, we have received 3 million international visitors. This number is already 62% of our 4.8 million target for the entire year. Mga kababayan, ang lahat ng mga ginagawa natin ito ay magbibigay bunga sa libu-libong hanap buhay para sa ating mga kababayan. To create these investment opportunities, we must ensure that an enabling business environment is in place, that there is peace and order, and that the rule of law governs. We will solidify our country's reputation as an attractive and reliable investment destination. Building on institutional reforms of recent years, we have created green lanes for strategic investments and expedited the business processes in various sectors and investment modalities. A progressive and rationalized system of taxation is a component of the ease of doing business. The CREATE law has made our corporate tax and incentive schemes equitable and business-friendly. There are more structural tax reforms that must be introduced to allow us to reach our socio-economic targets. Digitalization is the call of today, not the call of the future, not the call of the future, but of the present. It is here, it is needed, and it is needed today. Government must fully embrace digitalization to provide better service to the people through its vital frontline services and its back-end functions. Digitalization will support the government's data-driven and science-based planning and decision-making. It is the greatest, most powerful tool, not just to improve the ease of doing business, but also against many forms of graft and corruption. Data shows that digitalization, in conjunction with government streamlining efforts, has significantly boosted efficiency. Notable examples are in the areas of government payments, company and business registrations, issuance of permits and licenses, loan applications, and revenue collection. All our digitalization efforts will be linked to our payment systems, whose digital transformation has been accelerating at a remarkable rate. Digital payments accounted for 42% of the total retail payments made in 2022, whether by businesses or individuals or by the government.
Its high trajectory is now well positioned to achieve Bangko Central's target of 50% of total retail payments by this year. The eGov PH app has also been launched. As envisioned, all key government services are to be integrated into the single and centralized mobile app for the convenience of the general public. The national ID system will be at the core of this digitally transformed network of government services. It will fundamentally change the lives of each Filipino. At 87% total registration, we are now closer to establishing a complete, accurate, and reliable digital database of our own for the entire population. This has already been integrated into the eGov PH app and can be now accessed by our citizens. Consistent with this transformative policy direction, all government offices must then ensure that their vital services are digitalized immediately. In response to this call, the Department of Migrant Workers launched last week the Department of Migrant Workers Mobile to make the journey of our overseas Filipino workers easier. Because of system upgrades, our internet speed has improved. As of June of this year, our fixed broadband speed ranks 47th amongst 180 countries. This ranking is 11 places higher than it was last year. Our mobile internet speed is now ranked at 83 out of 142 countries, which is 8 places higher than it was last year. There will be more improvements as our internet infrastructure undergoes further upgrades. Early this year, Starlink went live in the Philippines, now providing high-speed satellite broadband connectivity. Our national fiber backbone and broadband ng masa projects will also deliver high connectivity and high-speed internet. We are prioritizing geographically isolated and disadvantaged areas. The DICT has been directed to consolidate all these digitalized government services into the eGov PH app, to establish the National Government Portal and the Philippine Business Data Bank to improve the internet speed in our country. With our e-commerce roadmap firmly in place, we are poised to take this digitalization drive further and beyond, utilizing e-commerce to take full advantage of new technologies. The first bill that I signed into law was the SIM Registration Act, because we are mindful of the risks and vulnerabilities that can lead to negative consequences. Digital users and consumers shall be protected from identity theft, phishing, other online scams through essential systems and safeguards, such as cybersecurity, data privacy, consumer complaint mechanisms, and financial literacy campaigns. The trainings necessary to ease the transition of those whose jobs would be affected by the shift to digitalization are also now being included in the curricula and programs offered by TESDA, DICT, and other agencies of government. It is our wish that one day foreign employment will be driven by choice, not by necessity. It remains a noble calling that our OFWs have answered, requiring great sacrifice from them, their families, and their communities. We are engaging with our partners in the international community to ensure a safe working environment for our countrymen. And as we do so, we are also putting in place responsive mechanisms for the social welfare, repatriation, and reintegration of our returning OFWs into the Philippine economy. As the world economy reopens, we are witnessing a rise in overseas Filipino deployment. In 2022, the number has increased by 62%. OFWs continue to send in historically high remittances, solidifying their role in our transformative economic growth. In 2022, our OFWs contributed $32.5 billion, or roughly 1.8 trillion pesos, to our economy. Several countries have also signified interest to explore bilateral labor cooperation with the Philippines in the areas of healthcare, tourism, hospitality, engineering, construction, and information technology. Recently, we signed agreements with Singapore, Austria, and the province of Alberta in Canada.
Our priority is to ensure that the principles of ethical recruitment, fair employment, and the safe and orderly migration of our people are embodied in our agreements with other countries. For example, the deployment issue in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has now been resolved. And as of today, 70,000 of our OFWs have already been deployed to Saudi Arabia for employment. Moreover, the unpaid salaries and other related claims of some 14,000 OFWs who have been put out of work in Saudi Arabia during the pandemic are now being processed. The Crown Prince of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia himself personally committed to me that the unpaid claims of Filipino workers would now be paid. The continued employment of some 50,000 workers and the deployment of many more Filipino seafarers aboard EU vessels has also been assured. The lesson for us is that our education and skills training must always be attuned to the high, exacting, and constantly evolving global standards. Sa pagsusumikap ng mga mamamayan, walang hindi kakayanin. Kahit ang mga matatayog na pangarap ay maaabot, kasama ang inaasam na tahanan. Katuwang natin ang lokal na pamahalaan at pribadong sektor upang matulungan ang Pilipino sa pangangailangan ng pabahay. Patuloy ang serbisyo ng Pag-ibig Fund upang makatulong sa kanyang 15 milyong membro para makabili ng bahay. Sa nakarang taon, mahigit 100,000 ang kumuha ng housing loan sa Pag-ibig na nagkakahalaga ng 117 billion na piso. Ito ang pinakamataas ng bilang sa buong kasaysayan ng Pag-ibig. Itong nakalipas na taon, mahigit 148,000 na kabahayan at mahigit 30,000 mga Certificate of Eligibility of Lot Award ang naipamahagi sa Luzon, sa Visayas at sa Mindanao sa ilalim ng sari-saring mga programang pabahay ng pamahalaan. Mahigit 35,000 residential free patent at agricultural patent titles naman ang naibigay sa mga benepisyaryo nito sa buong bansa. Hindi pa dito natatapos. Papalawigin pa natin ang ating programa sa abot-kayang pabahay, lalo na para sa mga mahihirap nating kababayan. Itong nakalipas na taon, inilunsad natin ang pambansang pabahay para sa Filipino Housing Program o 4PH. Nagkaroon na tayo ng groundbreaking sa 25 lugar sa iba't ibang bahagi ng bansa. Nagpirmahan na rin ng kasunduan upang simulan ang mga proyekto sa mahigit 100 lokasyon. Kung susumahin natin ito, mahigit 1 milyong kabahayan ang maialay natin sa ating mga kababayan sa buong bansa. The building blocks of progressive, livable, and sustainable communities will never be complete without appropriate and responsible action to mitigate and to adapt to the effects of climate change. We can never lose sight of our responsibility to the future. The economic agenda cannot and will not ever be incompatible with our climate change agenda. Climate change is now an important criterion in our integral national policies, in planning, decision-making, up to the implementation of programs. The potential advantages of such enlightened policies extend to jobs and livelihood, with the unlocking of the development of the green and blue economies. We have learned many painful lessons from past disasters, but we continue to be alert and prepared in our disaster response. It has in fact been commented that sometimes we are over-prepared for such natural disasters. Well, to continue that, we are reorganizing our response teams to make them more adaptable, agile, and effective in times of calamities and crises, with a clear unity of command. Our evacuation centers are being upgraded to withstand the greater forces of the new normal of extreme weather, as well as other natural and man-made disasters. Furthermore, new evacuation centers are also being built, of which 55 have already been completed. We remain committed to global decarbonization goals and the reduction of our carbon footprint. We preserve and protect the treasure that is our forests. Their value to the environment, to the ecology, and the economy is incalculable. We have adopted the concept of the circular economy, using nature as our model. The aim is to keep raw materials in a closed loop. In our world with scarce resources, the circular economy allows us to fully use these resources, minimize waste, and reduce the need for new resources, just as it is in nature. Just like our climate change action, this new system requires the participation of all sectors of society, up to each individual citizen, for it to succeed. Only a whole of government and whole of society approach will enable us to do all of these. It is necessary to apply all the resources that are at hand if we are to progress as quickly as we need to. Collaboration is the key between and among government offices, and between government and the private sector, between industries and the academe, between government and international partners, and most importantly, collaboration between and among our populace. Kakailanganin natin ng tulong at kakayahan ng buong pamahalaan at ng buong bansa. And so we shall do the same for the next 5 years. We seek not only to become more effective, but more, to become truly transformative. This approach will be operationalized through the interagency cooperations, as well as through coordinated efforts between and among the 3 branches of government and the independent constitutional bodies. We have organized private sector advisory councils and national local mechanisms to establish the needed linkages. Once again, on this same principle, I urge the government to enact a new government procurement law and a new government auditing code. This to make government procurement and auditing more attuned to these changing times. We will give effect to the mandate of the Constitution and the Local Government Code as clarified by the Supreme Court very soon. Almost all the required devolution transition plans of the LGUs are done. To fully prepare them for optimal devolution, the necessary technical and financial assistance is being extended to our local governments. In everything that we do, the enduring Filipino quality of bayanihan will still be our guide. 5 taon mula nung matinding kaguluhan, babangon na ang Marawi City. Nanunumbalik na ang sigla sa pamayanan, maraming proyekto ang nakumpleto at mga infrastrukturang naitatayo. Kasalukuyan na tayo nagpoproseso ng tulong pinansyal para sa mga biktima ng Marawi Siege upang sila ay makapagsimula muli. Naway mamayani ang pag-asa. Naway magpatuloy ang pagkakaisa, pagmamatyag at paghahangad ng kapayapaan at kaunlaran. We are proud of the progress that the BARM has taken. It will be self-governing. It will be self-governing, it will be progressive, and it will be effective. But this was only made possible because of the cooperation of all key groups. We talked to the local governments, the royal families, the MNLF, the MILF, were all consulted and represented in this transition phase. The international community has also supported us in this smooth transition. Former adversaries are now partners in peace. Its functions have been defined, and its basic laws are now being written. Through the BARM, we have strengthened the nation's prospects for finally achieving sustainable progress anchored on a true and lasting peace in southern Philippines. We will continue to support the progress of the BARM, apace with our singular vision for all Filipinos. A strong and stable rule of law will strengthen the foundation of our transformation. Our police and armed forces are being strengthened and modernized to be more effective in maintaining peace and order and in defending our sovereignty. We fully support the judiciary's efforts to improve the justice system
and to protect constitutional rights. The campaign against illegal drugs continues, but it has taken on a new face. It is now geared towards community-based treatment, rehabilitation, education, and reintegration to curb drug dependence amongst our affected citizenry. Last year, we launched the Buhay Ingatan, Droga'y Ayawan, or BIDA program, and established an additional 102 Balay Silangan Reformation Centers nationwide. We will relentlessly continue our fight against drug syndicates, shutting down their illegal activities, we will shut down their activities and dismantle their network of operations. Unscrupulous law enforcers and others involved in the highly nefarious drug trade have been exposed. I will be accepting their resignations. In their stead, we will install individuals with unquestionable integrity who will be effective and trustworthy in handling the task of eliminating this dreaded and corrosive social curse. We cannot tolerate corruption or incompetence in government. For almost half a century, some of our fellow Filipinos have taken to arms to make their views known and felt. We are now at a point in our history when their armed struggle has evolved. We have now progressed together towards peace and development. We have incorporated capacity building and social protection into our reintegration programs to guarantee full decommissioning of former combatants. Through community development and livelihood programs, the barangay development and enhanced comprehensive local integration programs have been effective in addressing the root cause of conflict in the countryside. To complete this reintegration process, I will issue a proclamation granting amnesty to rebel returnees, and I ask Congress to support me in this endeavor. Our journey to progress requires not only unity and social cohesion amongst our people. It is also imperative that our nation remains intact and inviolable, our sovereignty preserved. We will protect our sovereign rights and preserve our territorial integrity in defense of a rules-based international order. With our national interest paramount, we will always pursue constant dialogue and diplomatic approaches to the resolution of any issue that may arise. So the initial results of our efforts inspire confidence. Let us continue to be relentless in our aspiration of peace and progress. This has not been the work of a single person, neither a single branch of government, nor even the whole government acting alone. This is the collective synergy achieved by all Filipinos working together. It took a whole-of-nation effort to achieve this immediate recovery from our pandemic slump. Unity was what made us rise once more. Nagsisimula pa lamang tayo. Ang pagbangon ng ating bayan ay magpapatuloy pa. Hinihiling ko ang inyong tiwala at pakikiisa. Sa ganitong paraan, makakamtan natin ang ating tanging hangarin, ang maginhawa, matatag at panatag na buhay para sa lahat ng Pilipino. Makikipagtulungan tayo ng mabuti sa Kongreso para sa mga mahahalagang batas na kinakailangan para sa ating tuloy-tuloy na pag-ahon. And once again, I appeal to Congress for its support for the following priority legislations. The essential tax measures under our medium-term fiscal framework, such as excise tax on single-use plastics, VAT on digital services, rationalization of mining fiscal regime, motor vehicle users charge, road users tax, the military and uniform personnel pension, amendment of the Fisheries Code, amendment of the Anti-Agricultural Smuggling Act,
amendment of the Cooperative Code, new government procurement law, new government auditing code, anti-financial account scamming, Tatak Pinoy law, the Blue Economy law, ease of paying taxes, LGU income classification, and the Philippine Immigration Act. In the past year, it has been a source of great hope and optimism to me to now know that there is an enormous pool of highly competent and dedicated workers serving in our government. It is up to us to provide good leadership and guidance. They love the Philippines and have responded to our call. I have stated before that my confidence in our future was grounded in our world-class quality workforce, be they the farmers in the field, corporate giants, government officials, school teachers, health workers, or employees. That confidence has been further buoyed by the demonstration of love for the Philippines. Every Filipino has unanimously risen to the challenge that we have made to them to be part of our nation's future. Handa silang maghandog ng tulong dahil mahal nila ang kanilang kapwa Pilipino at mahal na mahal nila ang Pilipinas. And thus, with this in my heart, I know that the state of the nation is sound and is improving. Dumating na po ang bagong Pilipinas. Maraming salamat po sa inyo.
Oo. At talagang tumutok siya sa kanyang mga naging tagumpay, yun ang tawag niya, no? Successes of the past year. At meron siyang mga isinulong na mga batas na gusto sana niyang ipursige ng Kongreso. Mga 12 yata yung kanyang inihimok.
Yeah.
Diba,
Some of them,
sa
sound new
kongresista.
to many of us. Hindi masyadong napag-usapan o hindi nabanggit doon sa mismong SONA. But some of them have been spoken of before. Like for example, yung MUP pension. That among other things. Yung
Actually, yun ang
digital services.
inaabang-abangan, di ba? Ang dami na rin nasimulan dito eh. Kahit nga yung mga tax bills, di ba? Yung mga excise tax on single-use plastics, medyo matagal na rin yan. No?
Walang
Motor
ROTC law.
Hindi niya pinursige yun. Actually, kanina nga nung pumapasok siya, maraming nakapuna na tila hindi niya nakamayan. Si VP Sara Duterte, maaring hindi niya nakilala dahil iba ang costume, ano? Ako nga mismo, Ed, hindi ko nakilala kung sino yung... Sabi ko, sino ba tong kongresistang ito? Si VP pala yun.
She was wearing indigenous
Siguro
attire.
hindi lang nakilala, no? Pero maraming nakapuna na hindi nga nakamayan. Pero sa puntong ito, ipasok na rin natin ang ating mga panauhin na tutulong sa atin na himayin itong 1 hour and 15 minutes SONA. At kasama po namin, bagamat kung ma-focus ayun pala. Kasama po namin ngayon sa aking katabi mismo ay si Professor Antonio Contreras at sumunod sa kanya si Dean Emmanuel Leico ng Pamantasan ng Maynila at of course ang aming suking geopolitical expert si Richard Hidarian. Magandang hapon sa inyo. Siyempre, brief reaction sa naganap na SONA ng Pangulo. Ikaw muna, Professor.
Well, ang naging main takeaway sa akin, litaw na litaw yung pagiging science-based ng kanyang governance. If there is one thing that I want to, well, yung purihin, yung kanyang pag-emphasize sa science-based role of data, digitalization. Sa tingin ko, sa lahat ng mga presidente na nagkameron tayo, si Pangulong Marcos ang medyo very firm in bringing in science and technology.
Saan mo na po na yan? Anong bahagi
Marami
ng
sa
SONA?
agriculture. Pagdating sa agriculture, yung digitalization, naka-embed At nakikita na yan, for example, pagdating sa agrikultura, hindi nga lang yan na-amplify sa SONA. Siguro, ligid sa kaalaman ng marami ngayon, meron na tayong tinatawag na smart agriculture na kung saan nag-a-attempt na sila at pinupondohan na yan. Sapagkat alam ko yan, sapagkat yung aming school, yung Environmental Science and Management, isa sa involved sa tinatawag na SARAI, na kung saan yung pagdedesisyon ng ano itatanim, saan magtatanim, saan mag-aani, ay dinidiktahan na ngayon ng siyensya. So may ganong klase ng programa. So sa tingin ko isa yon sa mga makikita ko na...
Okay. Medyo, I'll call your attention to what's happening right now. Kakakamay lang niya, sarili niyang anak, kay Congressman...
Nagsa-selfie sila.
Sandro Marcos, ayan. At pati si Senator Raffy Tulfo, of course. Hindi ko na makilala ang mga ibang mukha dito sa Kongreso, no? At napakarami nila. But some of them are spouses of the Congress persons, no? Ayan. Siyempre, selfie time yan, di ba?
Time to press the flesh to make sure that all the bills mentioned move forward.
At napapag-usapan nga rin ang ekonomiya dito. Alam nyo, sa Pulse Asia Survey, ang results nga ron ay isa sa mga major concerns ng ordinary man on the street is inflation. No? Followed by salary. Wage to, pinag-uusapan. Followed by jobs. And then poverty. So, lahat economy So, Dinley ko, anong sabi mo dyan?
The President mentioned everything, all the buzzwords, no? Inflation, jobs generation, yung mga bagong negosyo. I think he mentioned
Investments,
that.
no?
Investments.
Pero walang wage hike.
Walang wage hike.
Walang na-mention, no?
And what is missing there? Yung details. I think yung detalye ang mas importante sana na binanggit ng Presidente. So for example, ang inflation ay bumababa. Pero lagi ko nga sinasabi, ang inflation ng mahirap ay iba sa inflation ng mayaman. Lalong-lalo na, pagka sinabi natin na ang inflation ng pagkain ang pinakamataas, yun ang relevant na inflation sa mga mahihirap. 30%, bottom 30% natin, they spend more than 60% or almost 60% ng kanilang sweldo para sa pagkain.
No?
Kung double digit ang inflation ng pagkain, double digit din ang inflation sa mga mahirap.
Correct. Hindi katulad mo, Ed. Ang inflation sa'yo ay computer. Hindi yan basic, di ba? Yung presyo ng computer. So, yun ang sinasabi mo. In effect, no? When you're talking inflation, you're really talking about very basic needs, no? Prime commodities.
Pero wasn't pasundo to kay Dinley ko. Kasi may binanggit si Pangulong BBM. Specifically, we have proved that we can bring down the price of rice and sugar and several other commodities. But naunang sinabi niya, we can bring down the price of rice. Did we see that significantly?
Not enough. No, bumaba, pero hindi doon sa pangako na 20 pesos kada kilo.
Kasi sir, sumegway siya from there. That was his introduction to the Kadiwa. Malaking tulong daw itong Kadiwa store para pagnoyin yung farmers and consumers without any middlemen. And then he started talking about kadiwa and its effects on people. So I suppose by that he referred to kadiwa.
Oo. Ngayon, nakikita naman natin no, sa ating television screens. Ito na, nag-uusap na si Pangulong Bongbong Marcos at si VP Sara Duterte. Ayan na nga kasi naman, napaka-magarbong Muslim
At si Gadon.
attire. No? At naroon din ang Presidential Advisor on Poverty Alleviation, si Larry Gadon. Pero ayan, just to put an end to the talk, no? So siguro nga hindi lang nakilala kanina. Parang hindi natin nakilala. Anyway, we were talking about inflation at this point. But pero maganda rin isa-isahin natin ang mga nakikita nating personalities, no? Yan, si dating Pangulong Erap Estrada, of course, is there.
Ay, siya ba yun? O ano?
Si Jinggoy.
Yeah, siya yun.
Si JV.
At syempre, andun si JV ba yan?
Yeah, JV.
JV Ejercito. And katabi ni Sandro Marcos,
Si Jinggoy.
Bongbong. And then of course, andun ba si Jinggoy? No, that's
Si
not
Jinggoy,
Jinggoy. That's
nakatalikod sa atin.
Ayan.
So
tama.
the brothers are there.
Oh, yeah, that's Jinggoy there.
Yeah,
there
Sa
you go.
foreground is Jinggoy.
Yan. At si Senior Deputy Speaker Gonzales, no? Si Aurelio Gonzales. Yan ang mga... Alright, papalabas na siya ng session hall at
May mga
syempre,
naghahabol ng selfie.
ang daming tao, you'll have to say, crowded talaga, ang sikip ng daanan, and you can tell that there were more guests now than before. I think in the last sauna, there were approximately 1,300 plus. No? Now, 2,000 invited. At meron pang mga nasa video, of course. No? Merong pinayagan naman yung iba na mag-video conference. Si Baby Arenas is
Yeah,
there.
that's Baby Arenas.
I'm spotting her.
And Ben Jokno.
Ayan, and of course, Finance Secretary Ben Jokno na ating ding napipintong hehepe sa Maharlika Investment Fund. No? All right. At si Foreign Secretary Manalo, ang katabi ngayon ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos. All right. At balik tayo sa ating diskusyon. You were talking about
Yes, sir.
prices.
He was talking about having brought down successfully several commodity prices and then segueing to kadiwa and what kadiwa means. But as an economist, how do you see the kadiwa concept ba?
Well, kadiwa is a good step, pero it cannot replace the market. No, ang market ay kasama diyan ang supplier, kasama din yung mga nagbebenta. Pero ang kadiwa cannot be a replacement for a working, vibrant market.
Pero pinagmamalaki niya kasi doon, tinanggal niya yung isang very costly part of the chain. No?
Yes.
Ito yung trader.
Yes.
So, diretso siya.
Yes.
But ang sabi niya sa SONA kanina ay i-replicate niya ang kadiwa to more to be
7,000
to be regional, not just regional but nationwide.
Yes. Kung magagawa yan sa ating merkado ngayon na ma-eliminate yung mga traders, yung mga middleman, malaking malaking pagbabago. Kasi yung transportation, lagi nating sinasabi, sino ba magta-transport ng mga bigas papunta sa mga merkado? Yan ang role ng mga middleman. In fact, bago pa nga mag-harvest, binibili na ng middleman yung kanilang ibebenta. No? So, kung marireplace yan, na ang transport ng ating mga commodities will become more efficient and be priced based on market values, that will be perfect. Pero ang kadiwa, I think will...
Hindi yun ang mekanismo.
Hindi Kasi kasama dyan ang private sector, no? Dapat, remember, hindi naman tayo government organized, government-run economy. Ang gobyerno ay namamahala ng mga policies. No? And it should provide the incentives and enforce market regulations. Pero kung ang mga market traders are going beyond market policies, doon dapat pumasok ang gobyerno sa enforcement.
Yes, sir.
Pero right now, kasi walang choice kakaunti, limitado ang ating infrastructure, ang transportation. Kaya nga, nung nakikinig ako doon sa infrastructure na pinaplano ng gobyerno, sana ito ay maging agriculture-oriented. Yung
Well, binanggit naman niya yun, no? More access talaga for agricultural products.
Oo nga, sana
farm to market. No?
Yeah, sana kasama pa rin dyan, yung mga drying facilities.
Right now,
they
storage,
call,
diba?
Yes. Right now, they call yung mga rice drying facilities, solar drying daw. Pero sa totoo,
Sa ilalim
inilalatag lang sa karsada yun eh.
Sa kalye lang ito. Ang tagal
Solar
na
nga naman, sir.
Oo, di ba? So, ang importante
natural
solar tsaka sagasa.
sunlight.
honest to goodness dapat, no? Magtatayo tayo ng kalye para daanan ng goods and services, no? And people. Hindi yung sasabihin natin na lumuwag ang kalye, pero pinaparadahan at nilalagyan ng mga palay na tinutuyo. So, kailangan talaga magkaroon ng storage, magkaroon din ng harvest. At saka yung sinasabi natin, no, na sa ngayon, ang agrikultura natin, more than 50% pa rin yata ang depende doon sa ulan. Na kung minsan tama, pero kung minsan, madalas, katulad ngayon, sobra naman. Kaya malulunod yung ating mga pananim.
Well, meron din siya. He was talking about the balance between productivity, local productivity, and imports. No? Na, yun nga eh. I guess, tanong ko rin si Richard.
You can see him chafing at the bit.
Oo nga eh. Ito nga ang tanong nating lahat. No? Meron ba tayong narinig na anything specific? Because as far as the policies that he had laid out and what he intends to do, parang wala pa tayong nakikitang konkreto, no? Except for the amnesty that he was going to give to rebel returnees. Did you see anything, even by way of your specialization, yung geopolitical front, no? Our diplomatic relations, particularly the West Philippine Sea, there was not even a mention of the West Philippine Sea, no mention of the EDCA sites and the relationship now with the U.S. on the Mutual Defense Treaty. What's your take on it?
Yeah, I mean, unang-una may makikita kang difference compared to last year, but a lot of continuity dun sa first zona niya. Ano yung difference? Of course, mas magarang, mas maganda yung lugar, no? Fresh na fresh talagang bagong Pilipinas. But kung pansin nyo, mas marami yung Filipino part, mas marami yung focus dun sa Filipino audience.
Yes.
Kasi parang last year sa tingin ko, no, yung emphasis niya is rebranding internationally. Para mas kausap niya yung international community, especially dun sa inauguration speech niya.
Yes.
At alam ko yung kritisismo last year, parang hindi namin naintindihan. Si Presidente, masyadong
No,
technical.
I remember that. Tsaka English masyado,
Oo, exactly.
diba?
Pero this year, parang mas maganda yung balance niya. Nonetheless, parang may template si Marcos Jr., which is cool, composed, and collected, and avoid controversial issues as much as possible. But if you're gonna mention, don't dig into it. So for instance, yung Maharlika Investment Fund, medyo controversial yan, just to be mild about it. Pero barely 3 paragraphs and very vague na parang internationally renowned folks will oversee it. No details about kung sino talaga mag-oversee yan, yung operations. And I think that's why, because he realizes now, the more details, the more room for criticism. No, EDCA, no mention, barely. I mean, I went through the notes back and forth, barely any mention. Alam natin sa EDCA is like a parang blank canvas upon which everyone is projecting their imagination. Kung ikaw ay critical sa EDCA, sabihin mo, lalagay ng nuclear weapons sa Amerika dyan. Yun ang position ni Duterte, di ba? Kung ikaw yung kabila, no, hindi kailangan natin yan, defensive lang yan. But we know up until now, sa pagkalam ko, hindi pa finalize yung details ng EDCA. Gaano kalaki yung presence ng American troops? Anong weapon systems ilalagay nila? Gaano kalaki yung mga base dyan sa Cagayan?
Hindi rin niya siguro talaga.
Exactly. So maybe it's because, don't talk about it because there's nothing to talk about it. And then, the last thing that you really notice, ito yung template niya, economy first. Kung titignan mo dun sa 12 priority bills niya, kung titignan mo yung buong breadth ng kanyang speech, easily 40-45% is all economic issues.
Right.
I mean, even yung mga hindi supposedly economic na parts, biglang may economy na papasok dyan. So makikita mo yun yung comfort level niya to talk about economy. And I think, ang ganda ng strategy niya by saying, dun sa mga issues sa ekonomiya na wala kaming control, katulad ng gyera sa Ukraine, yung shock sa oil markets, we couldn't do anything about. Pero dun sa areas na we could do something about it, we have been so far successful that inflation is going down to 4%. So, from a strategy standpoint, I think he focused on areas of strength. He avoided controversy as much as possible, and very calm, collected, composed, and he stick to the schedule. So I think you can give him a very good score for messaging discipline. Now, pwede tayo mag-disagree on the details because over the next coming days, makikita natin yung detalye ng mga bills na yan, no? Because a lot of this, last minute pa na discuss
Right,
yan.
of course.
But I think given the 1 hour that he had, we have to be realistic what we can expect from a president talking to the whole world.
So you use the word realistic. Okay, you want
Well,
to chime in on that and how realistic his promises were this time.
I always take SONAs are exercises of creating an optics. It's messaging, it's branding, and for us to expect that much detail will be offered in a period of 1 hour 15 minutes would be a bit too much. But I think it's more like, ang kinakausap dito yung buong bayan eh. At ano yung gusto niya makita na siya ay presidente. At tama si Richard, nag-succeed siya in painting himself as very amiable, ay hindi siya kontrobersyal, ayaw niyang pag-usapan yung mga magdi-divide at mag-aaway lang tayo.
Tama.
Pero kung hanapan natin siya ng detalye, naturalmente wala talaga sapagkat hindi naman yun ang layunin ng SONA. Ang layunin ng SONA ay magbigay, kung pag-isano, pep talk yan eh. Pep talk
Tama
yan.
rin. Tsaka politically ngayon, di ba? Medyo merong, di ba?
Kung marami akong gustong
May
sigilin.
issue eh, di ba?
Marami akong
So-
gustong sigilin sa kanya. Binabalikan ko, for example, yung aking pet peeve. Nung last year, sinabi niya na kailangang ipasa ng Kongreso ang National Land Use Act.
Right.
Sinabi niya last year yan. Babalikan natin yan. Hanggang ngayon, wala. So, hindi man lang nabanggit. Uli. So, ano yon? Inabandon na ba yon? So, kailangan siguro i-follow up yon kasi maaring hindi niya nabanggit pero baka naman nasa agenda. Katulad niyan, yung...
So parang dinagdag lang niya.
Oo, yung pagtaas ng yung minimum wage. Talagang, bakit wala siyang nasabi doon? Importante yon. Nasa bituko, malapit sa bituko kayo ng mga mamamayan. Pero ngayon, dahil priority ng Senate President, baka naman magkaroon ng liwanag. Alalahanin natin ang Maharlika Investment Fund hindi yan nasinaga ng araw last year.
Wala yan eh.
Hindi yan nabanggit. Tingnan mo ngayon, batas. So, hindi lahat ng pwedeng mangyari ay nasabi sa SONA.
Oo. Well, kaya nga, I guess ang tanong nga dyan is how much value should we attach? Ano ba dapat ang kahalagahan nitong State of the Nation address? Ito ba ay isang pagpapalabas lang dahil tradition na
Well,
ito?
if you look at the gowns of the attendees,
kasama na yun doon.
It's a fashion show.
No, but really, Professor Leco, halimbawa, going back to the economy, di ba, meron ba talagang real accomplishments kung tutuusin? Tama ba yung pinagyabang niya na, bumaba naman ang inflation to 5.4%, no? At ano ba mga pinagyayabang pa niya bukod sa inflation? Dumami rin ang mga trabaho na available.
Infrastructure projects.
Dumami ang infra, ang service sector natin, malakas na malakas, lalo na sa abroad, ine-extol niya ang husay ng mga OFW. I mean, all of these naman are true, but all of these, lahat naman yan meron na bago mag-SONA. So meron ba siyang bago na talagang accomplishment for the past year alone?
Well, I don't think he can claim credit to what happened during the last year. And also, my view about the SONA is that it's more than a fashion show. No? It should be more than a fashion show. Kasi ito yung hinihintay ng mga mamamayan na kung ano ang sasabihin ng Pangulo para tugunan yung kanilang mga pangangailangan at yung kanilang mga hinaing sa panahon ngayon. No? So, kung maririnig natin lagi, anong sinisigaw ng mga tao? Sahod, itaas, presyo, ibaba. So, tumaas ba ang sahod? Mukhang hindi. At kung sinasabi na tumataas ang ating GDP, totoo naman yon. Overall, in big numbers, big picture, okay naman tayo. Pero for people on the ground, for minimum wage earners, hindi nila ramdam
What
yung
is
laki.
GDP to them? Yeah, Richard,
Diba?
really, how?
Sir, that's coming from a low eh. Di ba? May baseline ka yan eh. You're talking about
Pre-pandemic,
growth. Yeah,
pre-pandemic.
growth coming from the bottom.
Yes. So tumaas kumpara last year kasi masyadong mababa yung last year, no? Pero ngayon, ang sukatan natin ngayon yung ano ang ramdam ng sikmura ng mga mamamayan. no? Pumapalya pa rin ba sila sa pagkain? Kasi nung nag-inflation, talagang na-wipe out. Kung meron mang silang savings, na-wipe out yun. O kaya nabawasan sila ng kanilang pagkain. No?
But in terms of the GDP, I think, Richard, they did exceed expectations.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the global...
Kasi ang target nila, 6 to 7. And people were saying, naku, good luck sa inyo na mag-6% pa kayo. Pero,
again, of course, you could say, dahil ang deep ng recession natin, 5 recession 2020, 2021, don't overread into it. Pero yes, 7.6%. But actually, if kung tinignan mo yung Global Competitiveness Report na lumabas noong June, the Philippines actually ranks improved on employment generation, price control, and growth. Hindi maganda sa fiscal front, kaya nga yung maharlika sa front. Yung isang issue na gusto kong makita is pension reform.
Right.
Sensitive
Yun
yan.
yun.
Kasi military ang pinag-usapan. Marami tayong coup dati.
Siyempre,
may
wala
coup.
siyang auto-mention niya.
Yes.
Alam niya na dapat niyang
Very
harapin
shallow
yun.
yung...
Pero,
Tsaka alam mo, ang ano dito, tayo nagsasabi na maaring kulang yung sinabi niya. Ako babalik ako doon sa ano yung nararamdaman ng tao. At lalo naman tayo siguro dito, lalo na kami naniniwala kami sa surveys, lalo pag scientific. At ayon sa surveys, mataas pa rin ang approval at satisfaction ratings ng Pangulo. Pangalawa, ayon sa isa sa mga surveys na narinig ko at nabasa ko, ay mas maraming yun ang Pilipino nagsasabing hindi sila mahirap kumpara mo sa previous survey.
Yes.
So pag ganun, at naniniwala tayo na nag-conduct naman ng mga surveys na ito ay legitimate na scientific survey yung ginamit, bakit ganun ang pakiramdam ng mga tao? Bakit ang pakiramdam nila ay maayos pa din ang gobyerno at hindi na sila masyadong mahirap? So yun ang gusto kong balikan natin. Are they misled? Are they, don't they know the real interests? O tayo hindi nakakita nung...
Pero in fairness, yung 58...
tayo lang ang cynics.
Yeah, yung 58 billion pesos na yung debt amelioration sa
condonation.
More than 600,000 ang pwede mag-benefit dyan. Malaking bagay yan. It has been a long time since we had the president who prioritized agriculture in the ways that Marcos Jr. has done. But obviously, alam din natin na first step pa lang yan in the journey of 1,000 miles.
Yes.
Yung farm to market, yung financing infrastructure, the actual infrastructure.
Kasi sabi nga nila, parang inofficialize nyo lang naman yung bad debt. Diba? Kumbaga, matagal na yan na nandyan, bad debt na talaga
But that means the president cares about it. So for me, SONA is not where you expect to see details, but it's where you expect to see which issues are close to the heart of the president. Because if the president's heart is close to that issue, there will be political capital and most likely congressional votes and scrutiny and resources. In that sense, prioritization kasing tinitignan ko, it's a speech. Of course, the president will be comprehensive para lang walang ma-hurt, di ba? Pero at the same time, titingnan mo yung ano yung mas na-mention in terms of proportionality. But the other thing that was not mentioned, federalism, constitutional change. Kasi,
mandatory ROTC,
again,
wala.
And ROTC, very Duterte issues
okay,
not
how do you
mentioned.
read that politically? Because
Mandatory
we know who's pushing for the ROTC.
Kaninang umaga narinig ko na in-enumerate pa yan ni Speaker Romualdez kasama sa pinag-aayusan sa LEDAC. Tapos sabi ko, ba't pala yata yung mandatory ito? Hindi lang ba yun nabasa, nalimutan, hindi nabasa sa...
O, anong sagot mo sa tanong mo?
Kung yun ay talagang sinadyang alisin, maaring hindi na niya priority, hindi na malapit sa puso niya. Baka naman nagkakameron na ng mga pagbabago na ano. Ngayon kung hindi naman sinasadya.
Pero matanong kita, was there anything political about it then?
Well,
alam naman natin na pinag-uusapan lately talaga yung, sabi nga nila yung unity team.
Pero alam mo,
are we beginning to see cracks in this unity?
Ang tingin ko kay Pangulong Marcos sa kanyang paraan ng paglilid, ayaw niya ng kontrobersiya, ayaw niya ng nag-aaway. So sa tingin ko, hindi yun, parang walang political meaning yun. Kung talaga, it's maybe because the technical results of the study says na maaring hindi yun feasible para i-prioritize. Kasi, ayaw niya ng away sa tingin ko. The fact na gusto niya unity.
Baka quiet divorce ang nangyari dito, no? Doon sa key issues.
Ang mga salita mo, quiet divorce. Rinig na rinig ko yung divorce.
Because clearly, yung priorities ng Duterte administration ay hindi priority ni Marcos. When it comes to drug war, barely we heard anything about it. ROTC, marami issues. China, hindi masyado narinig.
It's societal for Marcos to be adversarial towards the vice president when unang-una hindi naman siya hindi siya magpapare-elect. 5 years pa ang sunod na eleksyon. masyadong maaga yung pasasakitan ng ulo niya kung aawayin ng maaga ang Vice Presidente.
Oo, hindi niya kailangan yun.
It's a pain that he doesn't have to have.
What about the father who just went to China?
Basta the father and the daughter are not in good terms. Di ba yun ang chismis? So,
Hindi, pero yun na nga.
No comment, di ba? Sabi ni Sarah, no comment.
Pero so, in the end, the blood would still be thicker than anything. I mean, no matter what differences the father and daughter may have.
I've been a political scientist long enough to know that not in Philippine politics, blood could be thinner than water.
Away kapatid can be worse.
That's also true.
For as long as they're both in power, I think.
I'm just too cynical about it. But
Ang worry ko lang dito, maging matingkad yung political considerations doon sa direct.
And it detracts from the actual policies. And talking about the actual policies, eto na nga, mismong si Pangulong Bongbong Marcos daw ay aminadong bitin o kulang ang laman ng kanyang ikalawang State of the Nation address.
Para sa detalye, live mula sa Batasang Pambansa, si Mian Los Baños. Mian, ano pa ang sabi sa iyo ng Pangulo?
Hi, Luchi, Bok, magandang hapon sa inyo. Pasensya na medyo maingay sa paligid ko. Pero nakausap natin sa isang ambush interview si Pangulong Bongbong Marcos habang naghihintay tayo dito sa may North Gate. Ang hinihintay natin yung mga senador. Pero nagkagulo kasi yung mga PSG, so we got a sense na padaan siya sa harap natin. And then we tried na tawagin siya, and to medyo our surprise ay lumapit siya sa mga reporters. So we asked him a couple of questions, medyo mabilisan lang. Tanong natin, kamusta yung kanyang pangalawang SONA? Sabi niya masaya lang daw siya, that he had something to report about. And then may isang nagtanong sa kanya, anong pakiramdam? Sabi may resounding applause after and in between yung kanyang speech. Ang sabi niya, masyado daw mahaba yung listahan na kailangan niyang sabihin. Sabi niya, there's so much lang, sabi niya, in the list. Pero yun lang daw yung pinili niya. Sabi niya, magkakaroon ng press conference yung mga economic managers to explain bakit yun yung mga puntos na napili niyang sabihin sa kanyang SONA. And then I asked him, masaya ba siya sa mga achievements niya na nasabi niya sa taong bayan sa kanyang ikalawang SONA? Ang sagot niya sa akin, Luchi, Bok, sabi niya, kulang na kulang. And then I asked him, anong mismong kulang? Hinatak na siya nila Speaker Martin Romualdez, but paulit-ulit siya nang sabi sa atin with a smiling face na kulang daw talaga yung kanyang nai-report kanina sa kanyang ikalawang SONA. Luchi, Bok.
Ang dami niya talagang impormasyon na gustong ipamahagi, no? At pwede naman tayong magpatuloy, pero siya na mismo nagsabi that if you go daw beyond 1.5 hours, boring na. Diba? So talagang, so he really did commit to that. At nakikita ko ngayon, kasama ni Mian Los Baños, si Senator Raffy Tulfo. Abay, pakinggan natin ang reaksyon ni Senator Raffy.
Of course. Bago kami rumekta sa bago kami magkaroon ng mga specific na questions, yung muna inyong reaction sa SONA ng Pangulo, sir. Senator Raffy Tulfo.
Happy ako dahil nabanggit niya yung NGCP. At doon sa nanonood ng mga hearings ko sa energy, siguro maalala nyo na palagi kong binabakbaka ng NGCP. Nabanggit niya to. Siguro nanonood talaga siya, nakatutok siya. This time, itong mga taga-NGCP, umayos-ayos na kayo ng trabaho niyo dahil sa susunod na hearing, tatamaan na kayo mas matindi dahil yung presidente na mismo nakakapuna na ng kanilang kakulangan.
So, ibig bang sabihin mas magpapatuloy yung mga pagdinig mo tungkol sa mga sinasabing anomalya at irregularidad sa NGCP, knowing that the president himself mukhang hindi masaya sa performance nila?
He's not very happy. Halatang-halata naman. Maraming mga projects ang NGCP na hindi nila deliver, overdue na. Kasi mas inintindi ng NGCP yung dividendo Mas inintindi nila yung special treatment na binibigay sa kanila. Tulad niya, halimbawa, mag-akalain mo lahat ng korporasyon sa buong Pilipinas, 30% ang binabayad sa corporate tax. Ang NGCP, 3% lang. Yes. Tapos pinapasa pa sa consumer. Saan ka nakita niyan? Kalokohan niya. Siguro nakita ng presidente, kaya nagalit na itong tao. At meron na siyang salita na para itong NGCP, umayos-ayos na. Dahil kung hindi, may tama sila.
What other specifics dun sa kanyang speech? For example, West Philippine Sea, maikli ang banggit. Are you happy with that, sir, yung kanyang stand?
Okay naman tayo so far dun sa West Philippine Sea. ang isang bagay na natuwa rin ako na binanggit niya ay yung tungkol sa mga seafarers.
Oh, yeah.
Kasi for so many years, nagkakaproblema, palit ng palit yung pagtanggap ng mga taga-EU, ng mga workers natin dahil medyo mababa yung standards ng education, learning para doon sa mga seafarers natin sa schools. Nagawa ng paraan yan ng Presidente. At ngayon, bumalik ulit yung tiwala ng mga taga-EU para tumanggap ulit ng maraming seafarers.
Water Resource Department, sir, pinapag-utos niya na gawin ng Kongreso agad-agad and cooperative law.
Yes. Yan kagandahan kasi marami naman taga-Kongreso na suportado naman talaga yung mga priority bills ni Presidente. So yeah. And he will get the support from the Congress. Mas marami pang mga batas may ipapasa na para sa kagandahan.
Okay, Luchi, Bok, binibigay ko kaya Senator Tulfo ngayon yung override. You might want to ask him your questions po directly,
Yes.
Luchi, Bok.
Yes.
Hello, Ma'am Lucy.
Rafi,
Hello po.
Senator Rafi, matanong ko lang, no, dahil talagang mainit ka dun sa NGCP. Ano ang gusto mo sanang mangyari, no? Ngayon na binanggit niya yon at mukhang nakikinig nga siya sa mga kaganapan nangyayari sa Senado. What do you want him to do? Does this have to do with the constitution of NGCP, yung Chinese
charter.
ownership doon mismo?
Okay. For the meantime, Ma'am Lucy, ang gusto kong mangyari na mai-transfer na yung operation sa Transco gobyerno na and sa maintenance yung NGCP. Yun talagang gusto ko mangyari habang bibisitahin natin yung IPIRA law para totally makansela na yung franchise sa NGCP, maibalik na sa gobyerno. Yun talagang gusto kong mangyari. And I told the President about that when I visited Malacanang a month or so ago, and I told him that. At sabi ng Presidente, kung ano nakaganda para sa taong bayan, sa bayan, so be it.
Senator Rafi, si Edto, nilatag ng Pangulo yung kanyang mga gustong priority bills para sa susunod na regular session. Among them, nandun yung MUP, yung Military and Police Pension Fund, yung narinig.
Okay, ayusin natin
Okay,
ang audio.
so Senator, do you have anything else, sir, you want to add po sa inyong obserbasyon sa SONA ng Pangulo?
Wala naman. Masaya ako dahil nabanggit yung mga inaasahan kong mabanggit, especially doon sa mga committee na hawak ko, nabanggit yung tungkol sa mga OFWs, migrant workers, seafarers, nabanggit yung tungkol sa NGCP, sa energy. Yung dalawa malapit sa puso ko because chairman ako sa committee na yan. Ibig sabihin, si Presidente, siguro nakikinig sa mga hearings.
Siguro po. Sir, lastly, may sinasabi siya na sa loob ng kanyang termino, sana daw yung pangingibang bayan ay hindi na maging pangangailangan, maging necessity, kundi option na lamang para sa ating mga kababayan. Is that something that you also dream for our country, sir?
Yes. At the same time, nakikita ko naman yung effort ng ating gobyerno, yung mag-invite ng foreign investors para dumami yung mga pera ng mga taga-ibang bansa o na ibang countries to come in. And then yung perang darating dito, then yan ay mag-generate ng jobs. So if generate more jobs, then hindi na siguro kailangan nating magpalabas pa ng mga Pilipino papuntang abroad.
Alright. Maraming salamat, Senator Rafi Tulfo. See you in the Senate, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. So that's it. Luchi, Bok?
Alright,
Back to you
maraming
po.
salamat sa iyo, Mayan Los Baños. Alright, at balikan natin ang pahayag ni Pangulong Marcos kung saan sinabi niyang siya mismo ay bitin o kulang ang laman ng kanyang ikalawang SONA. Narito ang pahayag.
Sir, happy naman kayo sa na-report niyo achievement, sir. Kulang pa, sir. Anong kulang, sir? Anong kulang? Sir, nahirap po mag-Tagalog. Salamat.
Ayun, rinig na rinig natin, nakulangan pa siya. No? Okay, ako, speculation to, pero sa tingin nyo, sino kaya ang speechwriter ng Pangulo rito? Ikaw, Richard, ngingiti-ngiti ka dyan.
I'm wondering...
You have a naughty smile. Ano,
I'm just wondering, si Paul Soriano, how much is he, how much of a...
Speechwriter ba yun?
No, how much of a hand he had in the whole...
Ay, wala.
Exactly, right?
RTBM to.
Yeah.
But you wonder whether the President himself wrote the SONA, no?
Well,
kasi for him to say nga na kulang-kulang ang dami
Actually, the fact na sinabi niyang kulang, posible naman kasing siya yung nagtapos. Pero parang nakulangan sa oras, maaaring yun. Kulang kasi, kulang pa yung gusto niyang sabihin, hindi na ilagay sa speech. Baka naman talagang medyo nagkaroon na. Kasi alam ko, kinukuha muna yan galing sa mga cabinet secretaries.
Yeah,
ang
exactly.
mga naging
Bagay, yes.
inaano yan.
Crowdsourced yan.
Crowdsourced yan. Kinukulit yan. It is a synthesized version of the accomplishment. So, meron ka ba dyan, ano yung itatanggalin? Kaya nga sa mga cabinet secretaries o sa mga senador, mabanggit lang yung phrase na paborito sa kanila, like, I love the Philippines. Matuwa na. Masaya na nun si Secretary Frasco. Mabanggit lang yung, katulad ni Senator Tulfo, nabanggit yung NGCP. Minsan yung ano na lang, soundbite na lang, masaya na sila sa ganun.
Pero ano to? Is it a political kind of pandering? I mean, I hate to use the word pandering, no? But,
Unity nga.
Tsaka parang
alright,
they put
right.
the best foot forward pagka-SONA. No?
Right.
Pero you know what is missing here in a big way? Yung education poverty na kailangan natin. So the President mentioned...
marami siyang sinabi tungkol sa edukasyon.
Oo nga, pero wala yung education poverty. Yung sinabi niya na merong jobs mismatch, no?
Oo. Tsaka learning
i-address na
recovery.
yun, learning recovery. Pero again, no, siguro talagang kulang sa oras. Ano ang detalye nito? Bakit tayo may education poverty?
Although he did say na yung K+12 nire-recalibrate.
Yes.
Pero again, walang details
Wala,
doon, di ba?
wala.
At yung sinabi mo nga, wala na ROTC.
Ang isa pa, no, yung role ng AI
Ayun,
sa education.
sa digitalization, hindi niya yung nabanggit,
Yes.
yung AI.
Yung BPO will change because of AI.
Right.
No? So, ang BPO is
That's
a major
gonna be a threat,
contributor.
no? Bantayan
Yeah.
sa mga nasa BPO industry. Ang dami pa naman nating workers.
Pero baka dyan siya nakulangan kasi alam natin si President Marcos is a kind of a geek for techie stuff, right?
true.
So probably that's closest to his heart. Pero he doesn't want to talk about 1 hour about Starlink and AI, etc. So siguro may mga parts of him he had to control it. But I absolutely agree. I think yung kulang din dito is yung okay, parang the country is on the move, we're moving in the right direction. Pero tama yan, there's certain areas where ang lalim ng crisis, whereby the President should use the SONA as a rallying call na tanggapin natin pagdating sa education, sa functional literacy, yung sa World Bank. Our numbers are twice worse than a lot of our neighbors, are incomparable to Malaysia even.
Actually, nagulat ako na yung sinabi pa niya kanina, tumaas daw tayo sa world rankings ng universities. Medyo tumaas ang kilay ng marami doon. I'm sure in the academe, no? Dahil sa survey after survey, lumalabas
technically,
tumataas tayo.
Pagdating sa World University Rankings, tumataas naman talaga ang UP Ateneo at Lasal by a few steps. But that's still pagtaas. Sa akin kasi ang tingin ko dito, noon nga nililitan niya na yung mga proposed bills, parang nabilisan ako, wala nga pumapalakpak, parang sunod-sunod. Parang wala yung emphasis doon eh. Pero tinitingnan ko, paano, kunyari, punta tayo sa ibang bansa, like si Joe Biden, paano ba niyan yung State of the Union Address? Ganon din naman, wala din detalye. Puro din parenthood statement. So talagang ganon na siguro lumalabas ang optics ng State of the Nation or State of the Union Address, whatever its equivalent in other countries. That's a good area of research, maybe because of the increasing complexification of states and state building, of the digital, of technology, that, nagiging parang mas...
Pero Prof. Contreras, there are times when Biden and other U.S. presidents, especially Trump, would talk about a crisis, a carnage, na China is a threat to us, climate change, Inflation Reduction Act.
But they don't talk about the details of they're going to handle it. They talk of it as a rallying cry.
But yun nga, like in this speech, parang wala tayong problema sa bayan. Parang ganda ng Pilipinas.
Chill! Parang ganda, chill.
I'm just saying, I completely agree na huwag kang mag-expect ng policy paper sa SONA. Pero at the same time, there are times when the President has to realistically recognize a problem but say, we can do something about it. At yung feel ko lang, medyo masyadong pang Department of Tourism.
Let me zoom in on one thing in particular.
I just want to be fair.
Let me zoom in into one thing in particular. Yung MUP, the Military Uniform Personnel Pension Reform Proposal. Okay, it's very controversial. There's a lot of discussion on how to go about it. Merong 5% proposal na contribution from the DOF for the MUPs. Ang sabi ng Pangulo, and I don't know if I'm reading too much into it, ang sabi ng Pangulo sa kanyang talampate, they want to guarantee no effects, not minimal effects. No effects are felt by those in the uniformed services.
That's my point. It's too much conflict avoidance, almost unrealistic, right?
No, but No, yun na nga. Pwede bang no effect?
Yun nga, sana sinabi niya,
that even
calibrated,
possible?
minimized,
Oo.
balanced,
Pero may
fair.
effect.
Yeah.
Ito talaga, no?
Alam mo, mas maganda pa nga yung mga soundbites na dinedeliver niya pagka tinatanong siya sa mga ambush interviews. I would like to run one of those soundbites later on the MUP pension. No? Meron siya mga commitments eh. It's not in the SONA, but he said it and we'd like to run it. Is it possible, Direct, to run this? Meron na siyang nasabi tungkol sa MUP. Let's listen.
So hindi siya yung nagsulat, that part.
Yeah.
Siguro, yeah.
Kaya hindi siya, kaya kulang.
Kulang.
Okay. So hindi pa ready. Yeah, yung
Pero may
soundbite
fiscal
na yun.
impact yun.
Yes, sir.
no?
Yun nga eh.
Kasi index yung mga retirees, ano?
Correct,
And
correct.
dinodoble nila yung
Lalong
number.
lumalaki ng lumalaki. Mientras lumalaki ang
one way or the
sweldo,
other,
Wala
may effect.
wala nang sa serbisyo pero tumataas ang kanilang pensyon. And that will be very politically difficult
Correct.
to say to the retirees, hindi na namin kayo increase. Hindi na. Pwede bang bawiin yun? Nung nag-retire sila, they had it, no?
So, mahirap bawiin yun.
At
Kaya
saka
nga, hindi
madami,
pwedeng no
no?
effect
Ay,
eh,
hindi
di ba?
pwede.
Delikado.
It's
Pwede.
really almost
At the same
impossible.
time, it will have an impact on our fiscal position.
That's true. Well, yun nga yung sinasabi ni Finance Secretary Jokno, di ba?
Yeah.
Na parang baka mag-collapse nga in the next couple of years. Anyway, sa puntong ito, balikan po natin sina Maricel Halili at Jess de los Santos mula sa Batasang Pambansa.
Kasama nila si Senator Sherwin Gatchalian at iba pang paunahing nais magbigay ng kanilang komento o reaksyon sa SONA ng Pangulo. Jess, Mase.
Luchi Ibo, kasama nga natin si Senator Win Gatchalian ngayon para makuna natin ang reaksyon doon sa State of the Nation address ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos. Sir, kasama po natin mula sa studio si Luchi at saka po si Bok Ed. Una sa lahat, sir, in general, ano po yung masasabi ninyo dun sa SONA ni Presidente?
Bago pa man nag-umpisa yung SONA, ang pinakamalaking problema natin, inflation. At binuksan ng ating Pangulo yung topic na yan. No? Dahil alam niya yan ang problema natin. At nagbigay siya ng direksyon kung paano ayusin at lutasin itong problema natin sa inflation. At ang pamamaraan para ma-address natin yung inflation ay through agriculture. At very detailed, kung makikita natin, almost good 20 minutes ng kanyang speech dedicated sa paglalahad ng iba't ibang programa sa agriculture. So nakikita ko na ito ay renaissance ng agriculture sector natin, pagbubuhay ng agriculture sector natin, pagbabalik ng agriculture sector natin, pagtututok at pagbibigay attention sa agriculture sector natin dahil alam niya ito ang paraan para mapababa ang presyo ng mga bilihin.
Senator, isa sa mga nabanggit kanina ng Pangulo ay yung pag-amyenda sa cooperative law. Ano ba ito eksakto at ano ang balak ninyong gawin sa Kongreso para amyenda niyan?
Kanina, nagbigay rin siya ng mahabang pangungusap tungkol sa kooperatiba at kung paano gagamitin ang kooperatiba para palakihin ang output or productivity ng agriculture sector natin. Actually, matagal na yan pinag-uusapan pero ngayon lang nabigyan ng attention. Fisheries cooperative, agriculture cooperative, ipag-amin din dito pagpapalakas at para mas marami pa silang pwedeng gawin in terms of output and productivity sa agriculture sector. So itong konsepto na ito ay, again, matagal ng konsepto pero ngayon nabibigyan na ng attention.
Pero sir, bukod po dun sa cooperative na isinusulong ni Presidente, naalala ko last SONA parang nasa 19 no? Yung binanggit niya na mga priority bill supposedly. This time, 12. Ano po ang tingin niyo dito sa mga inilatag ni Presidente?
Pag makikita mo sa 12, I think the first 5 or 6 are revenue measures. No? Paano lumaki ang koleksyon ng gobyerno? Dahil kung walang koleksyon, wala tayong magagawa. At marami kang plano, marami kang projects, kung walang revenue ang gobyerno, kung walang kita ang gobyerno, wala siyang magagawa. Kaya nakita ko, nagbibigay siya ng importansya at direksyon na dapat rin ma-improve ang koleksyon natin. So, yan ang tingin ko dapat bigyan ng priority dahil marami siyang gustong gawin pero kung wala tayong kita, hindi magagawa yan.
Is this doable, sir?
To be honest about it, half of the year, ang revenue measures, isa sa pinakamahirap na batas na binabalangkas ng Kongreso. Talagang binubusisi yan, pinagdedebatihan yan. Tough, no? I would to admit itong 5 or 6 revenue measures na ito baka mahirapan before end of the year.
Senator, isa sa mga pinapareview ngayon ng Pangulo ay yung mga deals ng NGCP. So, ito, ano ang reaction ninyo dyan?
Kinriticize ng Pangulo natin mga smugglers, hoarders, criminals, tapos NGCP. So makikita mo yung level ng criticism at yung level ng pagkadismaya ng ating Pangulo sa NGCP. Dahil 60 projects ang nade-delay sa NGCP. In fact, sa hearing ng Senado, mas marami pa. 80 plus projects yung nade-delay. Pag wala tayong transmission line, kahit na may may generating company, hindi madadala yung kuryente dito sa mga syudad o sa mga kabahayan. Kaya, mensahe to sa NGCP, mag-shape up sila. No? At yung franchise na ibinigay sa kanila, hindi nila pagmay-ari yan, tayo may-ari yan. Tayo ang nagbigay sa kanila bilang mamayan ng ating bansa. Kung hindi nila magagampanan yung kanilang trabaho, ibigay na lang natin sa ibang kayang gampanin yung trabaho.
Senator, in as much as gusto rin natin banggitin, marami pang tayong dapat pag-usapan with Senator, pero sadyang meron pa tayong mga ibang bisita na kailangan nating kapanayamin ngayong hapon.
Sir, marami pong salamat.
Thank you guys.
Maraming salamat, Senator Sherwin.
Thank you. Yan po mga kapatid si Senator Win Gatchalian. Luchi, Bok.
Alright, maraming salamat sa inyo, Jess, Mase. At back to the studio, ito, pinag-uusapan natin ngayon din, no? Sabi natin kanina, wala tayong specifics. Meron namang specifics ang SONA.
Ang question
ito,
dun.
sabi niya, the 1,200-kilometer Luzon Spine Expressway. Aba, sabi niya, will cut travel time from
42
20 hours to
hours.
just 9 hours from Ilocos to Bicol. Tapos sabi rin niya, meron pa siyang isa, sabi niya, travel from Pampanga to Laguna
42
through the
hours.
North-South Commuter Railway System will be reduced from 4 hours to just 2.
2 hours.
Yung mga ganyang mga very specific
Meron
promises.
naman kanina.
Yan.
Marami naman akong nakita na specific. Kulang siguro sa specific. So anong gusto niyang gawin? It's a performance record. So may specific na report. Ang hinahanap siguro natin, paano mo gagawin yung mga sinasabi mo? Yung mga nagawa na, meron siyang binigay.
Tsaka to kasi infra to eh.
Infra.
Kumbaga,
Kailangan talaga. It comes
parang
with the
andyan na
territory.
yan eh. It's
Correct.
just a matter of starting it and then it will happen. But yung mga iba, yung mga policy decisions eh yun. Kunyari yung MUP. Diba? Ito sinabi niya noon, no? Kabilang sa mga sensitibong isyong hinarap ni Pangulong Marcos sa kanyang unang taon ay ang reforma sa pension system ng mga sundalo at iba pang uniform personnel. Isyong siguradong mahaba pa mga magiging usapan sa mga susunod na araw.
Pero kung si Pangulong Marcos ang tatanungin, napapanahon na ang reforma sa pensyon. Balikan po natin ang kanyang pahayag.
We're working hard on making sure that we have a pension plan both for the AFP and for the police na maging self-sustaining. Kasi kung ganito, pabawas na ng pabawas ang pondo niyan, after a while, mauubos na yan. We keep going the way we do. Within 5-6 years, wala na, we will have to do something else.
There you go, 5 to 6 years and self-sustaining. Is there such a mechanism in LICO?
Yes.
What?
Kung merong contribution portion,
Ayun naman,
no? Dapat may contribution yung mga sundalo at saka yung mga retirado. Pero wala eh. So, hindi pwedeng self-sustaining.
At saka hindi pwedeng no effect, no? Kung yun ang
Meron.
pinapangako niya, no? Kung no
At
effect,
the most minimized
somebody
effect.
will have to contribute. Who
Siguro-
would that be?
Siguro, yung mga retirado mismo o yung mga servicemen
Yes, sir.
ngayon, meron dapat sila.
But there's also the proposal na kunin yung pondo mula dun sa mga assets ng military at ng police na hindi gumagalaw at hindi nagagamit. You have hundreds of hectares of land, for example, Nueva Ecija, among other places, and those are being looked at.
O siguro i-minimize na lang yung adverse effect doon sa mga
ganun na
nasa
lang yun,
old
no?
na. Pero doon sa mga bagong mag-e-beben, doon i-apply lang yung bagong polisiya. Doon sa mga bagong pasok.
Na gusto naman nilang gawin yun. But sorry to interrupt, but at this point, we have Senator Grace Po with Mase and Jess. So, Mase, we turn it over to you.
Alright, Luchi, Bo, kasama nga namin ngayong hapon dito naman si Senator Grace po. Senator, any salient point na nag-stood out para sa iyo mula sa SONA ng Pangulo?
Marami. Maganda nga, para sa akin, komprehensibo ang naging State of the Nation ng ating Pangulo, yung kanyang address. Number one, nahahabulin daw niya yung mga agricultural smugglers. Para sa akin, yun ang isa sa pinaka-importanting sinabi niya. Dahil para sa akin din, ang punot dulo ng kamahalan ng presyo ng pagkain ay dahil dito sa mga smugglers na to. So sana nga may makulong. Pangalawa, yung sinasabi niyang irerepaso din yung kasunduan kasama ng NGCP. Siyempre, we don't want to change the rules in the middle of the game, pero kung nagiging disadvantageous naman sa atin dahil hindi nila tinutupad ang mga kasunduan doon sa mga prangkisa nila, dapat talagang repasuhin. Pangatlo, yung paghahanap din ng iba't ibang green sources of energy, pati na rin ng any sources of energy in the country, exploration, importante rin yon. At nabanggit din niya na yung mga magbabalik loob sa gobyerno, yung mga rebelde, ay tatanggapin niya. Yung mga sa ngayon ang mga naiisip ko.
Pero ma'am, of course, there was a brief mention about po dun sa fight against illegal drugs, pero walang nabanggit si Presidente tungkol sa International Criminal Court. Is this something that you were expecting or hoping sana na mabanggit ni Presidente kanina?
Well, alam mo, syempre, pagdating sa mga ganyan, iniisip din siguro ng Presidente yung mga importanteng magagawa na niya. No? Nag-issue na kasi siya ng statement tungkol sa ICC. Siguro ito, ang mas gusto niyang sabihin ay yung mga issues na talagang nakakaapekto sa mas nakararami. Kasi yung ICC, very specific kung sino yung gusto nilang mga mananagot doon sa ICC. Tapos siguro, alam mo naman, ang Presidente, kind of peace-loving, di ba? He doesn't like to single out anything. In fact, yung kanyang pagbanggit doon sa national sovereignty natin, kung mapapansin mo, hindi niya binanggit ang maski na sinong bansa na may agrabyado sa atin. Pero sinabi niya na importante talaga na mapairal natin ang ating soberenya. So, at least nabanggit na yon. Pero ang sinasabi niya, with mutual cooperation with other countries as well, and in talks with in a peaceful manner. Kasi ang Presidente, di ba sinasabi niya, we're a friend to everyone and an enemy to no one. Because although we have territorial disputes, I guess he's also thinking of the other aspects of our relationship, particularly economic ties, cultural ties, etc.
Pero ano-ano po yung mga topic or issues na inasahan nyo na isasama na hindi nabanggit? Kung meron man.
Alam mo, halos lahat kasi nabanggit na niya Siguro, yung sinasabi niyang pagtulong ngayong panahon ng El Nino, no? Sinasabi niya mga rainwater collection facilities, mga ganyan. Gusto ko rin malaman ano na nangyayari doon sa Kaliwa Dam, halimbawa, yung talagang malalaking ticket projects that have to do with the infrastructure of water, di ba? Water infrastructure. So sana yon din. Tapos yung kunyari, yung peace and order sa bansa, which is relatively good, pero di ba nakita naman natin may mga foreigners na tawag dito, nata-traffic dito sa ating bansa because the offshore gaming, So siguro, mabanggit din yon na the police have to be very impartial, and that when he talks about corruption, maybe he can give specifics of what could be done.
At syempre, nabanggit nga rin ho natin, Senator, ano yung magiging reaction ninyo din sa usapin naman halimbawa ng pagtakil nga katulad yung kanina, yung sa sinabi niyo, rebel returnees. So ano ho sa tingin niyo yung magiging prioridad dito ng Kongreso din dapat when it comes to creating a law for that? At the same time, last year, meron tayong 19 measures, walang naipasa doon sa 19. Ngayon, kung tama ang detalye natin, nasa 12. Ano sa tingin niyo yung prioridad dapat ng Kongreso?
Well, marami naman talagang, 1 year pa lang naman kasi siya. So siguro, ang isa doon sa mga yung Department of Virology, di ba? Kasi nakita mo naman natin na maraming mga hamon din sa kalusugan, sa mga panahon ngayon. Siguro nandun na rin yung, para sa akin siguro, the ease of paying taxes, di ba? Tapos yung amendment doon sa agricultural smuggling code, agricultural smuggling. So, sa tingin ko yun yung mga pwedeng i-priorities natin.
Alright. Sige po, Luigi, Bok, baka meron kayong additional questions for Senator Grace po?
Bok, can we ask lang kung anong reaction niya dun sa MUP, sa Military and Uniform Personnel Pension Funds, kung saan sinabi ng Pangulo na sana mag-grant nila na walang epekto ang kanilang gagawin doon sa uniform services. To quote, to guarantee no effects are felt by those in the uniform services.
Kay Senator, kasi ulitin lang namin kasi walang hybrid si Senator eh. Ang pinapatanong lang po ni Bok Ed, yung tungkol po dun sa nabanggit kanina ni Presidente na MUP, dun sa yung pension for the military uniformed personnel na sana hindi maapektuhan yung mga nasa senior ngayon.
Anong ibig sabihin na maapektuhan dahil magbabalik loob?
Zero
Yung
impact dun sa
zero
transition.
impact sa transition po para po sa military uniformed personnel.
Oo. Is this something to do with their pension, the pension rationalization?
Yes.
Well, it has to be explained carefully how it will not be felt by them negatively. It's a very lofty goal to have because obviously there will be some rationalizations, but it can probably be compensated in other ways. I guess a more detailed explanation of that is warranted.
Alright. Maraming salamat po, Senator Grace po. Ngayon naman,
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Salamat po.
Kapaniman naman natin si Senator Bato de la Rosa. Senator, magandang gabi po.
Good evening, Senator.
Sige lang po.
Senator, kasama po natin sa studio si Lucci at saka po si Bok Ed. Una sa lahat, hingan po muna namin kayo ng general reaction doon po sa naging second sona ni President Marcos.
Very comprehensive. Maraming na-cover na areas at for me, personally, happy ako. At yung wish ko ay natupad.
Anong particular na wish mo yun, Senator?
Yung wish ko na sana bigyan niya ng kahit kunting pansin man lang yung problema natin sa droga ng ating bansa at about yung pagdisiplina ng mga tiwaling kapulisan ay yun, nabanggit niya. So, very happy ako.
Community-based rehab. Agree po ba kayo doon?
Maganda po yan. Napakaganda. So, agree ako doon. At susuportado ko yun.
Kanina, Senator, may tinatanong si Bok Ed tungkol dun sa mga uniformed personnel, yung mga militar, pagbibigay po ng pensyon sa kanila. Yung nabanggit kanina ni Presidente Marcos na sana hindi naman maapektuhan yung mga existing. How do you plan to do the transition sa panig po ng mga legislators?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, parang na-align rin doon yung sinabi ni Presidente sa SONA na dapat hindi maapektuhan yung existing na, di ba? So, consistent naman tayo doon sa ating version of that MUP bill na dapat ang apektado lang yung new entrants, hindi kasama yung mga nasa active service ngayon. So, dapat apektado yung new entrants dahil yung mga nasa servisyo ngayon ay nakaplano na yan lahat ng kanilang retirement, naka-engage na yan sa mga pangungutang, nakautang, nakasanla na yung kanilang mga ATM card. So alam mo, malaking bagay kung maapektuhan sila. So kung yun ang gusto ng Pangulo, well, napakaganda nun.
Senator, syempre last year nabanggit ng Pangulo itong usapin tungkol sa ROTC pero ngayon ni isang salita tungkol dito walang nabanggit ng Pangulo. Reaction mo ninyo dyan?
Hindi niya nabanggit dahil nabanggit na niya dati. Nabanggit na niya, so ibig sabihin, it's already in the works. In the works na yan. So yung binanggit naman niya ngayon, hindi pa niya binanggit during the last SONA, di ba? Hindi niya nabanggit yan during the last SONA. So bago na naman ito ngayong binanggit niya. Doon naman tayo po-focus sa mga bago. Pero yung nabanggit niya dati, tuloy-tuloy yun. Pagka maglala, hindi natin kalimutan yung ROTC. Ipopost natin yun. Malapit na yun. Malapit na.
Pero sir, marami na namang request si Presidente kanina sa mga legislators. 12 yun na priority bills na in-enumerate niya sa SONA. So alin dun sa 12 na yun yung nakikita nyo na dapat unahin ng mga legislators?
Sa akin, ang nakita ko doon na napakalaking impact sa governance at saka sa korupsyon dito sa ating gobyerno ay yung pagbabago, yung pag-amend ng Procurement Act. Ayun talaga, matagal yan dapat. Dahil palagi tayo doon sa lowest bidder. Lowest bidder. And we know that the lowest price or the cheapest item is not necessarily the best item. Di ba? sige tayo bili ng napakamura, madali namang masira. So doon na tayo sa medyo mahal, pero matagal yung lifespan niya. Mas maganda yon, di ba? So yun yung akin isang nagustuhan ko na kanyang legislative proposal. Maganda po yun.
Reaction naman ho ninyo, Senator, doon sa nabanggit ng Pangulo, doon sa kanyang pag-udyok na bigyan ng amnestiya yung mga rebel returnees?
Well, suportado ko rin yun. Napakaganda nun. That will encourage maraming diyan ngayon nasa bundok na mga rebelde na ayong mag-surrender dahil nga takot sila, may mga existing warrants of arrest sila. Kahit na pagod na sa paglaban sa bundok, ayaw nilang bumaba dahil takot sila hulihin ng pulis dahil may existing warrant of arrest sila. Pero kung gano'n na magkakaroon ng amnestiya, so libre na silang bumaba. Hindi na sila arestuhin kapag sila'y na-process na, libre na silang mamuhay at bumalik sa kanilang mga pamilya at mamumuhay ng matahimik.
Medyo kakambyo ako, sir, ng ibang issue. Yung sa West Philippine Sea. Hindi naman direktang nagsabi si Presidente kung anong bansa yung tinutukoy niyo doon. But obviously, we have issues on the territorial dispute. Iba yung binanggit kanina ni Presidente pagdating dun sa ating foreign relations, yung ating foreign policy. Ano yung basa ninyo dito? Ano yung tingin ninyo dito?
Well, isa lang. Ayaw niya ng gera, pero ayaw rin niyang pakialaman yung ating teritoryo. Kahit na hindi niya binanggit ang bansang China, ibig sabihin nun, China naman. Sino bang nanggugulo sa West Philippines, di ba? It's China. So, very clear yun na ayaw niyang pakialaman yung ating teritoryo. Pero ayaw rin naman niya ng gira.
Are you happy? Are you satisfied with that kind of foreign policy that this administration is pursuing?
Yeah, I'm happy. Because nagpapakita siya ng neutrality, no? We can be friends to everyone and enemy to no one. So wala siyang pinakita na maka-Amerikano siya o maka-Chino siya. Klaro lang doon sa kanyang sinabi na maka-Pilipino siya. So napakaganda po nun para sa atin.
Okay, maraming salamat, Senator Bato de la Rosa. Ngayon, salamat po, sir. Balik muna tayo sa inyo dyan sa studio, Lucci. Bok.
O yan, taman-tama, taking off from that question on the West Philippine Sea at kung anong gustong gawin ni Pangulo dyan. Oo, balikan natin ang sinabi rin niya nung unang sona niya, hindi ba? Alright, eto yun.
I will not preside over any process that will abandon even 1 square inch of territory of the Republic of the Philippines to any foreign power. The Philippines shall continue to be a friend to all, an enemy to none. We will not waver. We will stand firm in our independent foreign policy with the national interest as our primordial guide.
Very firm, very strong words.
Yeah.
Oo.
Do we still have time for a little bit more?
Yes.
That's the difference with the first zone. Doon talaga makikita mo international audience, specifically Western audience.
Yun ang ina-address niya
Exactly. Na I'm not going to be another Duterte. Very clear siya on that point. But this year, I think he didn't feel the need kasi mukhang klaro sa lahat na he wants to have a rebalancing but at the same time not anti-China. That's why na-welcome niya yung bisita ni Pangulong Duterte sa China even though we know it was controversial and properly not coordinated. But he used the term rules-based international order. That's an American strategic lingo.
Okay,
that's a lingo the Trump administration used, that Biden used. So if you're a Western audience, you'll appreciate it. If you're China, you're not very happy. But vast majority of people don't really know where that comes from, so you could get away with it. But para sa akin, may relevance yan na if you look at his understanding of yung regional security order, it's much closer to the West than China clearly on this point. Based on the little things we heard from in his speech on this issue.
All right, last few words, Dean Leco.
Well, we heard enough about making it a comprehensive speech. He covered many topics. But then again, SONA should be considered as the opportunity, the window na tugunan, i-address yung mga issue ng mga mamamayan. Maaaring hindi detalyado, pero banggitin. Katulad nung sinasabi ng mga mamamayan ngayon, ang matunog na matunog, itaas ang sahod, no, ibaba ang presyo, dapat man lang merong kaunting banggit na meron talagang interest,
Na
meron
partikular.
talagang partikular.
Right.
No?
Okay, Professor Contreras.
Alam mo ang SONA dapat in the future, talaga mag-decide sila na dapat ito ay isang branding and messaging exercise. Yung mga nakikita ko yung punto na dapat ito ay maging rallying point para sa suporta, sabihin sa bayan, ito yung mga key points mo. Hindi mo naman kailangan itackle lahat eh. Kasi ang iba dyan, pwede na sabihin sa mga interviews, etc. Pero kailangan it's something that is inspiring, it's also something that is honest, and it's also telling the people what is right and what is wrong.
Yes or no, did he succeed in doing that?
Or I guess the speechwriter did not.
Okay. We don't want to end on that note, but thank you very much. Pero eto na po, yan po ang halos 3 oras nating pagbabantay at paghimay sa naging ulat ng Pangulo sa kanyang ikalawang State of the Nation address. Maraming salamat sa inyong pagsubaybay sa aming special coverage.
Pero wala pong bibitiw dahil susunod na ang mga balita at impormasyon para sa mga may alam at may pakialam. Susunod po ang Frontline Pilipinas. Ako po si Edwin Gao.
Ako naman po, si Lucy Cruz Valdez. Magandang gabi, Pilipinas.